All right. Okay. Let us begin our prep. Welcome, welcome, everybody. So, wonder let's see if we can elevate that one. Let's see. I don't know if this is gonna work. But let's see. Yeah. So, we have started the live on YouTube as well. Damian, Lawful, welcome. So we're gonna see how this works today. I'm gonna check on that. Aaron, Lawful, welcome. The YouTube screen and the text is quite small, but I'll work with it and see what can go on from that. Let me see if we can work on this. All right. Kim, Lawful, welcome. What else we got? All right, we got Damian. Justin, Lawful, welcome. So, we are about to get started. And the folks on YouTube are not going to be able to see the screen because I don't have a second tripod to work with. So, this is the first test run with dual lives. And we're going to get a few things out of the way. Let's see what we got here. Alright. So let's pull up our two documents. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Ferran, Lawful, welcome. King of TikTok, Lawful, welcome. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about a few things, a few changes, a few updates, and we're going to get a little bit more into what comes next. I didn't make this change. Give me 1 second. So for those of you who want to follow along, you can get a copy of the documents on the website, voiceofjamaica.com. One second. So I got that. Update this. Make sure we got everything in one place. And now, what else we got? Now we're gonna format this so we don't run into some issues. So we're going to re-upload the documents. So our title page is without lines and we have the proper articles in place. So give me 1 second. Mr. Difficult, Lawful, welcome. The Winsdad, Lawful, welcome. Yes, we are about to get started. We're just making sure that we have everything in place. Everything is in order. We are re-uploading the documents. So for those of you who are on the computer, those of you who would like to follow along as we go through the documents, they are on voiceofjamaica.com. And I'm going to show you how to get to that. For those on YouTube, you just have to listen, right? So we're going to start out early. All right. So here we have, let's go back to the home page, voiceofjamaica.com. Let's close that out. So on voiceofjamaica.com, we scroll down and we click on the first post, which says New Constitution, right? And here we have the 3 documents. We have the Microsoft Word draft. If you want to play around with it, you want to see exactly what's in the document. Here's the PDF edition, where you can open it from any device. And here we have the Declaration of Independence in PDF form as well. And again, if you would like to make a suggestion, you can fill out this form, put in your name, put in your suggestion, and hit submit. And all the suggestions that are made are going to be here placed on the website. All right? So, without further ado, we're going to first start with our Declaration of Independence. And for those of us who it is your first time here, we are over here drafting our new constitution, right? And the first step towards constitutional independence is to declare ourselves free of the current ruling system of government, right? So we have to first have a declaration. So this is our Declaration of Independence, right? And I'm going to go through it again for those who are new to the channel. You will get to hear and see for yourself what exactly we're talking about. For those of you who are going to be asking, why is Jamaica spelled wrong? That is not how Jamaica is spelled. Again, for those who are new, we do not want to infringe on the current copyright. So this is how we are spelling Jamaica going forward. We're not using the colonial name that was given to us, because I've shown it before, but I will show it again. Let us take a look. All right. So if we go to translate.google.com, this is a language translator, right? And I'm going to show it to you live for those who are not aware, right? So if we type in a word, it will translate it over here. So in English, so let us type in the word Jamaica. You see the translation? That means that there is no derivative word. This is an English word, or it is a word that has no meaning. Just because them say Jamaica, the land of wood and water, that does not mean that's what it means. Okay? So Jamaica is not a real word. It is a brand. It is a copywritten word. All right? So now, let us look up Jamayka. You see what it say? The bird. Jamayka is not a word that describes the people of Jamaica. Right? And you can look up any word in here and it will detect the word. As a matter of fact, you see where Jamayka come from? What language? Somali. Right? So it is not something that you can hold on to and think that, yes man, this is coming from our roots. It is not. Okay, so you can put whatever in here. But the point I'm making here is this. These are made up words. They do not derive from any legitimate language. Okay? And we don't want to hold on to falsities. So that is the other reason why we're stepping away from the colonial name that was given to our people and our land, called Jamaica. Alright? Ra, lawful, welcome. Alright, so back to more important matters. This is how we take the first step, a Declaration of Independence. And this is what we are declaring. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for a people to dissolve the political systems that have bound them to a government which no longer secures their rights, a respect for truth and justice requires that they declare the causes which compel them to separation. Right? We, the free people, assembled in full authority, declare that all legitimate power originates from the people alone, and that government exists solely temporarily to secure the inherent, natural, and inalienable rights of every person. Right? So that means that our rights cannot be alienated from us. It can't be taken away. The rights include life, liberty, security, dignity, participation in governance, and the full enjoyment of one's faculties without unlawful restraint. Whenever any system of government becomes destructive of these ends, fails to administer justice, denies participation, or acts in contempt of the people's rights, it is the right and duty of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new governance founded upon principles that secure their safety, equality, and future. Prudence dictates that long-established systems should not be changed for light or transient causes, right? So what this means is that we don't just get up and say we don't like the government, so we want a new one. It has to be significant. It has to be something that is of grave importance, right? Yet, when a consistent pattern of abuses, violations, and usurpations reveal a design to reduce the people under arbitrary authority, the obligation arises to act. The present system of governance has failed in its essential duties, which are: 1. It has denied effective participation of the people in decision making, right? No public ascension is needed for the government to do any kind of decision making, major decision making, right? They just get up and they spend, they get up and they pass acts of parliament, they get up and they say, okay, we're going to pass this other act to do this and to do that. No decision making involving the people's participation is in force and effect. 2, it has imposed obligations without meaningful consent, right? So, for example, recently they passed they are deliberating on passing a tax on sugary drinks, right? They start passing other tax on different things. How can we be obligated to pay all of these things without any kind of meaningful consent or participation in whether or not that is even necessary? It has failed to provide equal protection under the law. I'm pretty sure everybody can give an example of that. It has obstructed justice and weakened the accountability of public officials. It has exercised power beyond lawful authority. It has ignored repeated petitions for redress and reform. It has eroded confidence through inconsistency, inequality, and disregard for the public good. It refuses to make public the accounting of the consolidated fund. It refuses to declare the necessity for high salaries and massive spending of our monies located within the nation's consolidated fund. Such conditions demonstrate not isolated error, but a sustained departure from the purposes for which government is instituted. History affirms that where authority is exercised without accountability and where rights are ignored or treated as privileges, public calamities and corruption inevitably follow. We have sought remedy through lawful means. We have raised grievances. We have called for correction. These efforts have been met with neglect, delay, or continued injury. Therefore, necessity compels the conclusion that the existing system no longer derives its legitimacy from the consent of the governed. In accordance with the inherent and imprescriptible rights of the people, we declare that the political connection between the people and the present system of governance is dissolved. We declare that the people are, and of right ought to be, a free, sovereign, and self-governing body, possessing full authority to establish a new system of governance that reflects their will, protects their rights, and ensures justice for all. We further declare that the authority shall arise from the people, that no power shall be exercised except by lawful grant of the people, that governance shall exist only to secure rights, not to diminish them, that all persons shall be equal under the law, that public officials shall remain accountable at all times with no possibility of immunity or pardon. In forming this new foundation, we do not act from ambition, but from necessity, not to disrupt order, but to restore it, not to diminish society, but to preserve its dignity and future. We affirm our commitment to justice grounded in law, equality without exception, accountability in governance, protection of rights for all persons, peace with all nations, and hostility toward none who respect our sovereignty. With full awareness of the responsibility before us and relying upon the principles of justice, reason, and the collective will of the people, we solemnly declare and establish this independence. And for the support of this declaration, we mutually commit to one another our responsibility, our effort, and our enduring obligation to uphold the system of governance we now bring into being. One people, one voice. So, does anyone have any comments, questions, or suggestions they would like to make? I'm going to bring up Alex. Alex. Mr. Alex, you're up.
Sorry about that, man. I got my phone go off.
All right, no problem. Okay. King Kong, lawful, welcome. Ra says it don't have a suggestion as of yet. All right, no problem. Mr. Difficult says that was beautiful. Hey, it needs to be effective, right? It needs to encompass all of the grievances. So this document here is not just for, I guess you can say, big words and intelligent speaking. You know, this document encompasses the grievances that we have as a people, right? If everything was okay, we would not need this document. And let me let me talk to you straight. This world is being run from paper. So for those of the people out there who are thinking, why do we need all of these writings and all of these declarations and all of these notices and whatever? Everything in this world runs from paper. If it is not written down on paper, you cannot give proper notice. You can't just talk and it happens. That is not how this world works. So, in order for us to make known what we are doing, so no authority can come around and say, well, we never know, right? This is something just sudden upon us. We can't just act on something that is sudden. This is something that is written down. It is going to be something that the people themselves have to agree that this is what we want to do. Now, the only thing I have done here is to put the document together, and those who have suggestions, those who want to input, those who want to suggest changes. No, not Mr. Vegas. Those who want to suggest changes have the option of doing so, right? So this is a public document. This is not something that I am just crafting and you have to agree to it or you have to do whatever. Nobody has to do nothing. It is an option if we want to move together as a people and we want to make Jamaica a better place. This is the start of it. Okay? In the current system, in order to make certain changes, we basically have to do it by petition. We have to ask. This is why we are crafting a constitution. We don't want to ask anybody anything, because anytime you go to the government and you ask, what happens? They ignore you. They continue as if nothing is happening. They give excuses. They take months, sometimes years to get back to you. They use the courts against you in some cases. Sometimes they put things off. They come up with all the different reasons not to address the issue that is being brought before them. This is why we only have 30% participation in voting. Because most of the people do not have confidence in any part of the government. So, if we don't want to have any part of the government, we don't want to be subjected to the government's tyrannical rule, it don't make sense we sit down and we don't do anything, because the problem is the 30% that participate, they are now the ones who are assenting to this as basically on your behalf. Because once there is national support in the voting process, it does not matter if it's 10 or 1,000 people who vote from a parish. As long as we have national participation, the government is resurrected and put back into power to continue ruling again for 5 years. Right? So, let us see what I'm saying over here. We just need these people out. People's homes set to be demolished to build a bypass. All them something, they are foolishness. Find another way. And, you know, in cases where the government is taking people's property or their land, you should be either relocated properly or you are compensated properly so that you can relocate. Then can't just come and run through your place. And one of the tactics being used is that especially if people don't have, you know, for example, titles and all these different things, then the government is assuming power over those people and just bulldozing and going through. Right? So, let us get out of YouTube stream. We'll figure out that later. So, if we truly want to make a difference in our country, we have to change how governance is done. We have to change the power structure so that everybody is held accountable. I signed one petition for Rattigan and still waiting. They ignore because they know no one cares. It's not that no one cares. It is because there is no accountability. They don't answer to anybody. The crown is still in force and effect in Jamaica. That's why when you go to court, if you're suing the police or you're suing a public official, it is you versus the crown. Let us see. Whole heap of comments I forgot to show you now. Why would they? Greetings, Sabak. Lawful. Welcome. So basically, everyone have to not vote to change the government. That's not true. If we want changes, we don't have to not vote. We simply put together our own constitution and enact it into law. And that's what we're doing. If you don't vote, it can be worse. One man can't change it. Exactly. How is it when the poor do something wrong, they harass and go to court? That is because the system is sometimes supporting the actions of the agents. I believe it's all a gamble. And we are not united as a people. Well, maybe that's how it seems right now. But you know, you have to think about certain things. What are people going to unite about? Right? How poor people go to court and politicians don't go to court. I'm going to get to that question in a second. What are people uniting for? You cannot just unite for one simple cause. You come and you march and you picket and you have this special day that you come out and do one thing, and then what? Then what? That is the problem we are facing. You know, things we used to do in the past, like marching, you know, going out and putting up signs and all these things and go on TV and say, we don't want this, we don't want this. in the past that may have worked. But you see, now you have consistent news on the media where people are now videotaping interactions, people are capturing the blatant violations of rights, and they are still ignoring the video evidence that shows the violations, but yet still it is still being ignored. It is still saying this is alleged. They are not saying somebody do something, they are saying it is alleged that such and such do such and such, when you can clearly see the evidence on video footage. So again, not to say there is not a way to do it, but at the end of the day, the one and two problems that some people highlight, when you aggregate all of them, how are we going to come together if some people are on the left and some people are on the right? We need to do it as a whole. We need to say, listen, we have all of these problems and we are coming together to fix them, because the government is not paying us any attention. The government is only there for some other purpose. But we have been complaining, we have been documenting, we have been asking, we have been going to court, and we have no remedy. So the only way to fix our problem is to get rid of this crap. Let them stay over there, so, and govern themselves, and let us move over here, so, and we govern ourselves. That simple. Right? So, how poor people go to court and politicians don't go to court. I talk about this the last 2 times. I also talk about this on a post, and I'm going to go over it again lawfully. I'm going to bring up the Constitution so you can see for yourself. Section 48(3) of the Jamaica Constitution, Order in Council 1962. I'm going to show you on the screen. Section 48(3). So this is in relation to the question of poor people go to court and politicians don't have to go. All right. This is Section 48(3) of the Jamaica Constitution, Order in Council 1962. It says, no civil or criminal proceedings may be instituted against any member of either house for words spoken before or written in a report to the house of which he is a member, or to a committee thereof, or to any joint committee of both houses, or by reason of any matter or thing brought by him therein by petition, bill, resolution, motion, or otherwise. So that means that they cannot be prosecuted. Unless they commit a crime outside of Parliament, they cannot be prosecuted. Plain and simple. Alright? Not voting has never been the answer, because the system is a cage. You either vote in or you vote out. Right. Would a treaty be better? Constitutions are under bankruptcy law, is what I heard. No, that would not be better, because a treaty, you first have to have a nation to have a treaty. You still need a political body to operate within the current international framework. Paperwork works now, right? But why is it being ignored? It is being ignored. The grievances are being ignored because there is no external oversight body, and people don't know how to activate the external bodies to do investigations. How when a lawyer go before the court with fraud documents, the judge don't charge them. The judge don't charge someone with fraud documents unless you know how to invoke that court rule. There are canons of law. You see, these are deeper matters where you have to understand, or you have to comprehend how the court works, what are the rules of court, and how you activate and ask for sanctions for violations of law or violations of the rules, right? But the judge themselves are not going to do anything until you bring it to their attention properly. How can we help ourselves to get from under this? The hospitals in Port Antonio, why don't they spend the money there for better care. That is what we're doing here today. We are on the road to change the system of governance that is before us. Right? So stay tuned and you will see exactly what we're doing. So that was the Declaration of Independence. Again, for those of you who want to see a copy of it or want a copy of it, you can go to voiceofjamaica.com. Let us go back so you can see what we're talking about. This is voiceofjamaica.com, as you can see here. You scroll down and you click on New Constitution. And here you have a copy of the Declaration of Independence and the constitutional draft, which is what we're going to go over next. So for those of you who were here the last time, you will realize that the Declaration of Independence was sharpened up a little bit to include a little more serious language, right? So now we go over to our constitutional draft. And this is our constitutional draft. Again, for those just joining us, Jamaica is not spelled wrong. This is how we are using it within the new constitution. Okay? All right. So here we now have our table of contents. So now we can see what topic is on what page. We can see what title it is. A stands for article, right? So these are the preliminaries, which are the words and meanings and interpretation, which we add. Action now JA says, why we spell it like that? We just went over that, but I'm going to go over it once more. The name Jamaica is not the name of a place. It is the name of a copyright. It is a name that was instituted by the British. If you follow history and you go into the etymology of the words, you will realize that Jamaica does not have a meaning. And we just went over that by looking up the term Jamayka. And let us put back Jamaica in the translation box. So Jamaica has no original meaning. It doesn't come from anywhere. And it has no translated meaning. So this is clearly a made-up word. This is not something that is in a dictionary. It is just a brand name. It is a copywritten name. So we don't want to infringe on this current copyright. So therefore, the name that we are using for this constitution is this spelling of the name. Got it? All right. So here we have our table of contents. And we have added the words, meanings, and interpretation section, which is going to be expanded as we go along. But we do have something we're going to start working with. We have the preamble. We have the Declaration of Responsibility, Principles and Authority, Bill of Rights, and Freedoms. So these are the preliminary sections before you get to the actual meat and potatoes of the Constitution, right? So let us take a look at what we have in our words, meanings, and interpretations. This is something new that was added. Again, if you'd like to make suggestions, you can go to voiceofjamaica.com, click on New Constitution, and under the document listings, you can submit your suggestions right here. And when you submit your suggestions, you will see it showing up under here where we have all of the suggestions that were made so far. All right? So, the first section of our Constitution is the words, meanings, and interpretation. So this explains what the words mean within the Constitution. So we are going to depart from legalese. We're going to depart from using arbitrary legal language that nobody knows unless you pick up a legal dictionary. Right? So it's just like in a patois. When we are chat something, everybody know what we mean. So we are going to make sure say everything clear from the beginning. When I use something from as you can call it, the dead language, or Latin, right? Abolition of external law. The term abolition of external law means any rule, regulation, or policy enacted by authority of this constitution which no longer serves the purpose of the people and ceases to be in force and effect by lawful vote of the people. If local rule, abolition by parish vote. If national rule, abolition by national vote. So if we have something in law, right? Like, for example, if we have some kind of policy in the hospital that is not working properly, we can simply, as a people, demand a vote. And when the votes are casted, if we have majority vote that say get rid of it, that policy is gone. It's that simple. We don't need to be submitting this and doing all kind of foolishness. A simple vote by the majority and that rule is gone. These are things and policies outside of the Constitution, right? So like, policies of law enforcement, policies of how the courts run, policies of this, policies of that. We have full control on whether or not we are going to let those rules continue to dictate the actions of the public or the actions of the agents. Artificial legal entity. The term artificial legal entity means an entity, office, body, organization, estate, trust, corporation, partnership, association, foundation, government unit, or other non-living juridical creation recognized by law. So what this means is it is not living. Right? Anything that is not living is called an artificial legal entity. Plain and simple. For those who are concerned about the straw man theory and all of that. This gets rid of that. Everything non-living is called an artificial legal entity. Apex Tribunal. The term Apex Tribunal means the highest court of the nation, where matters can be appealed to or where matters of great importance are brought and heard. So this would be like the Supreme Court as we know it. Court. The word court means a lawful tribunal of 3 or more judges acting in concert on behalf of the people, judging each case brought before it, guided only by the principles and express written rules under this constitution. Okay? And we're going to cover, I'm going to write that down. Judicial, where is my notepad? Give me a second. You see, while I remember some of these things, I have to write them down. Judicial discretion. We're going to cover that next. King TJ. Yeah, man, lawful. All right, court of record. The term court of record means that all lawfully established courts within Jamaica are courts mandated to record all proceedings in writing. This should be writing. All proceedings in written, audio, and video format, right? To be included in the National Public Records Database. So every single court case that is had, we the people or anyone within Jamaica that is lawfully here and a part of our population should have access to go back and view any court case at any time. You can watch the video, you can listen to the audio, or you can look at all of the written proceedings, including submissions. You plan on keeping a public meeting soon. I don't know what that means. So, when we have a court of record, right? We don't just have what the judges had to say. We should have every single thing that was submitted to the court. Everything. Zoom out. Alright, so me zoom out a little bit. Better? So this is what it means to have a court of record in the new system. See? Crime. The word crime means any prohibited act or unlawful act or combination of unlawful acts under this constitution that causes harm to person, property, or interest, regardless of whether such act is specifically defined or not. The agent them start report the live. So I want to know what's coming, right? All right. Criminal housing center. The term criminal housing center means a well-kept, humane place where convicted criminals and those convicted of crimes will sleep or spend parts of their confinement when not contributing to society projects. Right? So as we said before, let me get out a telegram so that we don't have that on the live. So, as we said before, we are eliminating the prison system, right? If someone is convicted of a crime, you are indebted to the victim or you are indebted to society, right? So therefore, when they are not contributing to society, they would be within this criminal housing center. They would not be allowed to free roam within society, right? Just like sometimes you see the prisoner them on the road, I clean up the sidewalk or I do something on Labor Day and all of that. Once they are not out there working, contributing back to the development of society, they are back in the criminal housing center. Right? Election. The word election means the process of live public voting for a specific purpose of great importance to a parish or the nation as a body. Right? English. The word English means one of the official languages of the island nation of Jamaica. Human being. The term human being means a living member of the species Homo sapiens. Immunity. The word immunity means the protection from prosecution or suit when executing a lawful duty only. This concept of protection is prohibited in this constitution. So, even though we're defining the word immunity, it is specifically prohibited within this constitution. Nobody have no form of immunity. You do the crime, you do the time. Individual. An individual means an artificial legal entity or agent of an artificial legal entity or public servant in his or her official capacity as agent of the people. Okay? So this, an individual cannot be a private person or a private individual. But we're going to get to those words. Jamaica. The word Jamaica means the name of the island and nation of people in the Caribbean Sea, formerly called Jamaica, in recent colonial rule by the British Crown. Jamaicans. The word Jamaicans mean the name attributed to the natives and people of the land called Jamaica. One can see the spelling when I look on the document. Jamaica. All capital name. The term Jamaica, when used in all capital letters, mean the brand and copyright name of the people of the land called Jamaica. Judge. The word judge means a lawfully appointed public servant placed on duty by public vote who serves to work with other judges within a court, hearing and deciding the outcome of cases brought before such individuals. Juridical person. The term juridical person means any non-human or non-living entity created by legal processes, such as a corporation, association, or government agency, to which this framework expressly grants legal personality capable of holding defined limited rights, assuming obligations, suing, and being sued. So we make sure we are tear apart the word person and separate it into individual definitions. Law. The word law means any protection, rule, regulation, prohibition, or other condition within this constitution or permitted to be enacted by written process within this constitution. So all law is confined to this constitution or what it allows. Lawful. The word lawful means any legal process or action taken under proper and permitted authority within this constitution. Legal. The word legal means any lawful action taken by any individual, agent, or public servant under the laws of this constitution. National. The word national means a reference in terms of the entire island or all 14 parishes. National command. The term national command means the combined forces of all parish commanders for the purposes of national or nationwide collaboration in an effort to resolve an issue or issues of national importance. Natural person. The term natural person means a human being recognized as bearing legal capacity under this framework. Parish. The word parish is the name given to each divided section of the island of Jamaica. Parish command. The term parish command means the authority established as the governing body within a parish, consisting of a parish commander and other public servants placed in offices for the protection and development of the public good. Parish command election. The term parish command election is a process by which the people of a parish vote to either keep the current parish command in place or elect a new parish command governing body. Just watch how them take note figure run with this section for definitions next week. Well, good for them. Parish court. The term parish court means a lawful court erected within the parish and serves a specific purpose of either civil, criminal, or special jurisdiction to hear matters. Parish court civil division. The term parish court civil division means a parish court established to hear and decide on civil matters related to property, rights, or interests. Parish court criminal division. The term parish court criminal division means a parish court established to hear criminal matters related to unlawful acts, regardless of intent. Parish court special division. Kuya, them still are reporting live, you know. We're gonna continue. Parish court special division. The term parish court special division means a parish court established to hear matters that do not fall within the realm of civil or criminal law, such as constitutional matters, governmental matters, and disputes between public entities. Patwa. The word patwa or patwa means one of the official languages of the island nation of Jamaica. Person, we're finally here. Person, a person means a single human being or natural person, whether male or female. You notice this word is very confined and very short. It has now been declogged. Public peace service. The term public peace service means the law enforcement body responsible for public order, peace, and the enforcement of the criminal laws within this constitution. Public record system. The term public records system means the permanent data record and document system of the nation. This system consists of various layers, both offline and online, archived and live, which is maintained with strict policy and procedures to ensure a reliable record of all events taking place within the island's legal and public systems framework. I'm going to go back over this, so we'll continue. So that's our public record system, right? Public servant. The term public servant means any person who is elected to office and takes an oath to serve the will of the people. Rights. The word rights means any enjoyment of action that causes no harm to person, artificial entity, property, or interest. Such inherent right of a person, written or unwritten, or privilege granted to an entity, is recognized under this constitution, whether in use or dormant, at any given time, as the case may be. Rights are activated and in force and effect at all times. Unlawful court. The term unlawful court means a court or tribunal that hears any case or rules on any matter inconsistent or in violation of the principles and requirements of this constitution. Unlawful act. The term unlawful act means any action taken that is in violation of this constitution, regardless of position or rank in society. Special People's Court. The term Special People's Court means a court specifically established as the case may be and as needed, consisting of 9 varying non-elected members of the public of different professions for the sole purpose of hearing the case against public officials or government agents and determining the punishment fitting for any convictions as the case may be. So, if a public official is violating the Constitution, a special court is formed by regular people in a everyday community. And that court of people, of 9 people, would hear the case and determine the penalty. So that way we do not have public officials judging public officials. Completely separate. Right? So those are the current definitions we have. Again, if you'd like to suggest something, a word, or if you want to suggest a term, if you want to suggest something that you would like to see in the Constitution, feel free to head over to voj.com, voiceofjamaica.com, sorry. Head over to voiceofjamaica.com, scroll down and click on New Constitution, and here you have the option of Constitutional Draft Suggestions, right? And we will definitely bring it up on the live, and we will discuss what it is that you would like to add to the Constitution. The last suggestion we had was very long, right? And we didn't cover it last time. So we are going to go over it today. This was from J.A. Washington, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it says protect against unreasonable, unjust, or unlawful overreach in lawful Jamaican affairs by foreign countries, international bodies, external entities, or organizations. Right? So this is actually already covered. Right? Any matter of national importance is actually determined by public vote. So international interests doesn't really come into play here, because regardless of that fact, none of the public servants, whether it be a national command or any tribunal representative, they cannot sign any agreement without assent from the people. The people still have to vote their acceptance of the terms of any treaty, contract, or otherwise. So, for example, the UK cannot simply impose age verification or whatever else they come up with in Jamaica just because they feel like it, or so that the entire country cannot be crippled or toppled by payment process providers like Visa, MasterCard, etc. Other essential services are infrastructure companies who get up one day and say, I am no longer working with Jamaica or anyone from there. My services are now unavailable to you until you do as I say. If anyone does try, or even if they do succeed, it should not be without penalty or remedy. So this is interesting because this is talking about sanctions, right? And we all know that powerful countries can institute sanctions or suggest sanctions against other countries, but the smaller countries do not necessarily have that leverage, even if they bring the case to the international court. But there are ways to dealing with this, right? I know exactly why we haven't brought all of this up at the international level, and we will address that at a later date, right? This is kind of too early, and this is outside of the Constitution. We can't really enforce this from a constitutional standpoint. We would have to enforce this from a policy standpoint, because this is more political when we talk about international matters. So, suggestion 2, the country should have a proper military capable of defending the island and its waters, right? Or other interests with its own power. While not everything about our military capabilities is made public for strategic purposes, as it stands, our military is really only capable of defending or quelling internal matters and depend primarily on other countries or allies for external defenses or protection. Right? Again, that is an internal security discussion that has to be had. But at the end of the day, once we have control, as a people, we know what's going on, right? It is a matter of alliance with other nations who are in support of what we're doing, right? I agree with the capability, but that is, kind of like a haystack to determine what kind of training and force would be necessary, strategic positions to have them in, and so forth and so forth. Because you have to remember, Jamaica is a small island, right? If if some country decides to invade or to take over or to try to colonize, right? It is better to teach everybody how to defend than to try to institute a large military force, right? We can take 20% of the population and say we want a strong military. It is not going to work, because it has to be on a rotation basis. When people get too old, when people decide that they want, a better life or whatever, and they leave for whatever purposes, we have to consider many different factors when it comes to national security. So, that is again a matter of strategy and alliance. Smaller countries have to ally with other larger nations in that regard. But I don't think, again, anything can happen in the future. But that again is not something that we can encode within the Constitution. That would be a policy decision, right? As it regards to our military force. All right, number 3. When foreign countries and companies think hotels, mining companies, fishing vessels, real estate developers, etc., that kind of thing, they harvest, extract, use up, or otherwise make unavailable to the people of Jamaica finite or semi-finite resources such as land, minerals, etc., certain human resources or workforce, and some intellectual properties, products, innovations. A portion of the revenue from those should go directly and specifically to various things that the people can point to say, yes, our government or country benefit from this. And so do we. It should be a variety of benefits from productivity, essentials, infrastructure. So we do have a section. Let me finish reading the whole thing. It should be a variety of benefits from productivity, essentials, or infrastructure. Things that make life easier or more efficient, and entertainment or leisure. The charges, whether royalties, fees, or other means, should preferably be charged not annually but quarterly or some other frequent or regular payment schedule to prevent having to wait an entire year to get anything done or started. So we actually have this already encoded within the Constitution, right? Number 1, it cannot damage the environment. We are getting rid of everything that is damaging our ecosystem, right? All of this excessive mining and all these different things. Again, it comes down to, do we need to be doing that? And I can almost with certainty say no. Much of the destruction that is happening to our island, it does not need to happen. We don't need a lot of these mining operations. We don't need overfishing. We don't need all these large corporations coming in talking about digging for gold and digging for this and all. We don't need it. As a nation, what we need to be doing is focusing on how we can become production ready. We can start being a producer and not keep consuming. So there are provisions in there that if there is a beneficial route where outside corporations, can come in and do whatever process, whatever raw material, whatever they would like to do, and it is beneficial to us, there is a provision in there that talks about the tax or the fee and whatever else would come up as a matter of policy. But it has to be non-disruptive and non-destructive to our society. So this is the 4th draft suggestion. When becoming a citizen, make it more beneficial for the country and or its people, so that people who become citizens are not the only ones that benefit. People who become citizens are not the only ones that benefit. Perhaps they need to contribute a certain thing, amount, or in certain way, so they don't just take from the country but add to it as well. Make it more difficult or restrictive to become a citizen to avoid situations like in the UK where Muslims have taken over the country from corner stores to the parliament and forcefully impose their laws, customs, and traditions on everyone around them, with no real way for the people of the UK or its government to do anything about it. And to avoid something like, for example, 10 million foreigners coming to the island tomorrow, waiting 5 years, becoming citizens, outnumbering the native people 3-1, then taking that majority advantage and using it to change or implement rules, laws, or changing constitution of the country to whatever they want to choose or feel like. That's an important point. That's a very good point. And that wasn't foreseen in the Constitution. However, there is a provision currently in the Constitution that states that the Constitution cannot diminish. It cannot be modified per se. You can only add to it. And the additions cannot contradict what is already there, obviously. So even if we have an enlarged population, right, it would still have to be, if it comes down to it, it would still come down to national vote. And this is how we get rid of those few that keep running the country and doing foolishness. If we have a national voting, then that kind of balances things out. But I see the point of limiting the amount of foreigners in the country, right? That is another concern. We're going to have to find a way to limit that as far as citizenship is concerned. Visiting is fine, but as we know, there's already a provision in there that you cannot participate in any kind of governmental matters if you are not a citizen. Look into limiting the amount of foreigners who can become citizens, right? So make a note of that. So those are good suggestions. Those were the last 4 that we got. The rest of them we already went over and implemented. Now, the UNDRIP and the ADRIP that was suggested earlier, there is a problem with them. There is a problem with these two, I guess you're going to call them international declarations, right? They are too general, number one, and number two, they are not binding. They don't have any language in there for penalties, right? So unless we actually incorporate them into our constitution, this would not be enforceable the way it is, right? Because it doesn't list any penalties in these documents. So we would have to come up with a way. I mean, we can simply take out, the major principles within these documents and infuse them in the Constitution to respect the rights of indigenous tribes, indigenous religions and so forth, or, tribal governments and so forth. But at the same time, there are certain things that we have to be aware of. One of the reasons that let me turn around and talk to you upon this topic. One of the reasons why we have, the problem with certain groups getting recognized in Jamaica is because even though you have a group of people called it's typically they're gonna be called an organization, right? Whether you want to be a tribe, a group, whatever. It's just several people coming together and living a certain way. To get recognition by a country, the way that some groups want to be recognized, that means that you have to have a political status. You cannot just be, for example, a Rasta man. You cannot just be a Rasta group. You cannot just be, men's group. It has to be politically recognized. I know we don't necessarily want to align ourselves with this politics. However, in order to be recognized by the government of a country, you have to have political recognition. I am not going to go into this live about how you go about doing that, but that is the missing element. So when time you hear people say, well, them not respect our rights, them not respect our culture, them not respect our practices and all these different things. That is why. Because you are coming in as literally a corporation, and corporations are governed. So if you don't separate yourself and make yourself internationally viable, then you are not due any recognition. TikTok police, lawful, welcome. So if we don't gain that overstanding, so the human rights groups, the activists, all of those representative organizations, the reason why they don't get a lot of attention outside of the news is because they don't have a political standing within the international framework. When they figure out, well, if they figure out how to do that, then you will see the playing field change. The playing field will definitely change if you have recognition within the international framework, which is now currently being run strictly by politics, right? A governing body. And the one thing no government is going to allow, I mean, there are certain situations where it is allowed, but in many cases, one government is not going to allow a second government to be erected on the same land that they are on. Right? So, you can't have your own police force, you can't have your own army, you can't have all of them something they will constitute a political government. Right? No, it doesn't mean so you have to have armed forces in order to be politically recognized. But if you want to be a recognized government, then you're going to have a standing army to protect your borders, which again, a bigger conversation that we're not going to get into that on this live, right? So, as we've been discussing with the constitutional draft, we have specifically defined what the words mean. So that way, I tell the Middle East that. Well, that's why I said there are special circumstances. Because if you have a big enough land, if they want to come a class, them come a class. But, hey, keep on tell them, become a signatory, right? But the long and short of it is, if there's a big enough piece of land that one set of people, you can't possibly do everything with it, right? So now you have another set of people come and say, hey, I want a piece of land over here. So yeah, you're going to have some conflict and all of that, but ultimately it gets split into two regions and you call this one country and call it the next, right? But if you have a small piece of land, yeah, it's going to be endless conflict. I mean, even the big countries, as you can see, they right, even the bigger countries, you see, they have all kinds of problems, right? So we don't really want to even entertain those kind of things. Question: what is the purpose of this constitution? What is expected of us, the citizens? Okay, so we've covered this earlier, but we're going to go over it again. So currently we have a government within Jamaica, right? A government ruling Jamaica. It is not a government instituted by the people, you know. It is a government instituted by the participation of the voting public. Completely different from a government erected or instituted by the people. Totally different. So, the people's vote is necessary, but the actual ruling of the people does not come from the people. It is coming from the crown. So, the people don't have any say. The people of Jamaica does not have any say when it comes to matters of national importance or matters of great importance. So if that is the case, if the people face injustice, the government has no allegiance to the people. The government have no duty to stop illegalities or unlawful behavior as it concerns the people. The only duty the government have, as far as the law enforcement is concerned, is to keep the Queen's peace. And that is directly in the Constabulary Force Act. A matter of fact, we're going to bring it up because what we say? Lawful, always. So let us point to what we're talking about. Right? Section 4 of the Constabulary Force Act. Let us take a look. So this is the Constabulary Force Act, and Section 4 is the oath. Right? Here we have the oath that all constables, including the commissioner, has to take. As you can see here, I will well and serve our sovereign lady, the Queen. Right? And zoom in a little bit. I can see that, right? So this individual is taking an oath to the Queen. So if you are a police officer and you are not taking an oath to the people of Jamaica, and you're taking an oath to the crown, because the Queen is basically whoever the ruler is. Currently, we don't have a queen, so the king is now put in place to replace the Queen. So that being said, the king is now where the allegiance goes. So if the law enforcement body of Jamaica, right, is taking allegiance to the king, right, then the question is, what duty do they have to the people? Right? So it goes further to say, without favor or affection, malice or ill will, that I will see and cause Her Majesty's peace to be kept. Right? So this is, you are saying that everything that I do is supposed to be keeping the Queen's peace, or the King's peace, or the Crown's peace, regardless, whatever you want to call it. And nothing in here says Jamaica. Nothing in here says the people. Right? So, and mind you, this oath is coming from 1934. This document itself was modified. You see? There was a modification in 2022. And they still did not change this. They still did not change this oath. Alright, so we have someone in the comment section. I'm not going to call by name. Say, I am a cop and I did not say Queen. It is the people's peace. Alright. What I want you to do is I want you to get a copy of the oath that you take, because you were supposed to sign that oath, and the individual or the officer who was administering the oath to you is also supposed to sign that document. Right? It is called your oath of office. Go and get a copy of it, and definitely, a matter of fact, do you have a copy of it? Because this is law, you know. Regardless of the oath that you take, this is the current law. Unless they have a new Constabulary Force Act. Regardless of what you say, this is the lawful oath. Okay, if a JP sign it, you need to get a copy of it and see exactly what it says. Because if you did not take this oath, you are not a constable. Unless there is an updated Constabulary Force Act. This is the current oath. And when they do change it, this will simply say the king. Right? So I don't want to see what you are studying. I want to see the official document. Whatever is on the books, that is the copy I want to see. Because anybody can request it under Freedom of Information Act, you know. It is not something secret, right? However, whatever you swear to become a constable, it has to include this. I mean, I'm going to tell you why. Those who come to class will know why I say this. Okay? So, again, a constable may take various oaths, different oaths, right? But this one is a must. It has to be on the books. It has to be in the office, wherever they are located. Okay? And either the commissioner or the GG supposed to have a copy of it as well. None of them can go on duty without this. Make we read it so that we ensure that people realize how important this is. No person to be appointed under this act to be an officer or sub-officer or constable shall be capable of holding the said office until he shall take and subscribe, meaning you have to sign it too. Subscribe the oath here following, that is to say, and you have to say the whole of this in front of any one of her majesties. You see what it say? Administered by any of her majesty's justices or by an officer. So JP or a constable, a sub-officer, well, it's an officer. So either officer or a sub-officer, right? So regardless of what you took, this has to be a part of your oath. If not, you can be in terrible trouble. That's all I will say. So, the law enforcement arm of the government is not by law. If them want to take something in a secret, I feel them problem that. But the current law is giving an oath to the queen or the crown. So even if a secondary oath exists, or 2 or 3 or 5 more oaths exists, if this one exists in nature right now, it overrides everything. Because you can't serve 2 masters. You either serve the people or you serve the crown. Let us further verify and validate what we're talking about. Let us go to, this time we're going to the Court of Appeals. Let us go to the Court of Appeals website. We're not about to use Supreme today. See? So, let us go up here, so, to judgments. And let us do civil judge. Let us do criminal judgments. Because civil are really between peoples. If you notice, every single case is by an agent of the crown. Right? Let us click on one of them. So we see here an individual versus R. Right? What is R? Does anybody know what R means in a criminal case? Put it in the comment section. Alright, sir. King TJ. La, la. So, all right. Rex. So, if we look at these cases, all of them, either you see R or you see the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, right? And when you actually open up these documents, you will see the individual versus R, or you see R versus the individual, right? So this is the plaintiff, this is the defendant in many cases. When you look under the attorney section, which is the first section under the verses, right? It gives you an idea of who R is, right? It says, for the crown. Does it not? When I can see, let me zoom in a little bit. Let me zoom it in. Right? For the crown. Alright, make we look on different. Maybe adjust the one they say so. Make we look on next one. Make we go down here so. Miller, Tisha versus R. Right? Make we click on a document here. Here we go again. For the crown. Right? So, we know business what R mean. It is the crown, regardless of who is here or whatever letter, because before they used to have the king, the queen, or the crown, and they removed it. Right? Now it is R. There is no legal name R. So this is fictional. It says this attorney, right? The DPP, which is Miss Paula Lewin, KC, and Miss Lorian Tugwell, for the crown. Plain as day. And any case that you want to pull up, you will always see for the crown. So whatever they put here as the party being sued, it is representing the crown. So it's a representative of a representative of a representative. It doesn't matter. So why is the crown a part of the court proceedings? They are saying that this, if they're saying it is the state, right? The state against you or the government against you. That would mean that the crown is the government. And what does that mean? What does all of this say? This means that we are not free. We're under a crown. We're under the rulership of a crown. I mean, it's not rocket science. Chloe says, is it also a fact that we are only holders of land, even if you owe it or own it? Even if you own it, the crown owns the land. That is not true. Why is this not true? That is not true because there was no proper legal transfer of the land to the crown or the government. So therefore, the crown cannot own land lawfully in this day and age. Maybe in the slavery days when they did not necessarily have any other lawful authority or civilized society where, they are claiming equality of the law. But today, in today's day and age, the crown cannot lawfully own any property within Jamaica because it was never properly ceded by any lawful authority. It was all done by plunder. Action No JA says R means regis, which signifies the king or kingly or the colonial authority. It is colonial authority. There is no kingly authority because kings do not do all of the atrocities. No queen or king no do the atrocities that have been done against our people. Zine? Yeah, man, Chloe. No problem. It is it is just showing the examples. It is not to look down on anyone or to, you know, use it in any derogatory way. Um, so, at the end of the day, we are still under the rule of the crown. This is one of the reasons why I say to people, whenever you make petitions or whenever you try to bring things before the court, the problem is you don't realize that the court has no obligation to the people. None whatsoever. So even if they take a secondary oath or all of them something there, the first and primary oath is to the crown. What do you think of the 500 billion owed to the Jamaican descendants of slaves? I am not going to go into that topic, but generally speaking, that is a very dangerous position to be in. The government is the people. Well, the people might be the silent government, but they are not active government as it stands. I did the real estate course and I am most certain that that was told to us. Interesting. This Jamaica is a corporation. Well, we went over that several times, We iLife Israel. We went over the corporation and actually showed on screen the evidence of what we're talking about. But I'm not going to show that here because that doesn't serve our purposes as far as moving forward as a constitution. All right? But I just wanted to show people that the government is still under crown rule. Right? Do you believe Andrew deserves another term? I don't speak about anything political over here. See? So, anything they're doing in office, that has nothing to do with me, and that has nothing to do with what I cover. I stay far away from politics, especially current politics. I don't have any comment on any of that. Right? My purpose here is to steer my people in a lawful direction with proof and evidence. So that way, the people themselves can determine whether or not the course of action is beneficial to them as a people, as we the people, not from someone dictating what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Right? So, let us get out of this. So I hope that was clear on who and what the crown is. Right? Now let's get back to our constitutional draft. Now, as you can see now, we have page numbers. Let me zoom out so you can see. Now we have the page numbers. So in the table of contents on the very first page under the title, right, we have our table of contents. So now you can actually find the different sections that talk about different aspects of the Constitution and better. Exactly, TikTok police. I am not a lawyer. I am not an attorney. I am not providing legal advice. Right? We don't have any clients over here. We don't sell anything over here. We don't offer any paid membership or nothing like that. Everything is 100% publicly accessible and free. Right? So, here are the different sections of the Constitution that we've crafted thus far. You can go through anything that piques your interest, or if you actually want to go through the document, it is currently at 161 pages. I know it seems like a lot, but it is well spaced out. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If we scroll down a little bit, you can see much of it is spaced out, right? It is not this small writing huddled up 161 pages thing. It is very well spaced so that it is readable. It is readable, it is relatable, it is not convoluted and huddled together, so you can actually take the time and see what exactly this thing is saying. Also, what makes it even more lengthy is because it is written in plain English. So there is no legalese within this document. None whatsoever. Everything is in plain English. And a later work, not right now, a later work is going to be translating this into Jamaican Patois so that we have both official languages represented. All right? But for now, we're going to work with the English version. So, some of the language here has been sharpened. Right? iLife say, what is the link to read it? For those who are just joining, let us go back to VOJ. Go to voiceofjamaica.com. Once you see that shield, you're in the right place. So voiceofjamaica.com. You scroll down to the first post. It says New Constitution. You click on that. And here you have the links to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitutional Draft, PDF editions. All right, so that is where you can download the copies if you so choose. And you don't have to download it here. Just click on it on your mobile phone or on a computer and it will load right up, right? You click on it and it will load the PDF edition, all right? And that's how you get to it. So, almost everything is in here thus far. We are going to work on the referendum portion. Well, I'm not sure if we want to watermark it. We want it to be a simple, plain document. Anyone can access it and do whatever they want. You know, that's why the Word version is included as well. But I'm not sure we want to watermark it. You know, save and ink. But, you know, if you have a suggestion to... Yeah, man, that's fine. That's fine. If the agents want to take elements of the document and incorporate it or do whatever they feel that they're doing, they are still under the crown. They are still under the crown. So it doesn't make a difference, the minor adjustments they are trying to make. You know, we do see that every so often, right? Every so often we have changes being announced based on things happening on this live. So it is no longer a strange issue, right? If they want to copy, you can't really stop them. Even if you put the watermark, I know they have the capability of taking out various sections and doing whatever with it. Just joining. Was this created by you or by Jamayka? What do you mean by Jamayka? This document was inspired by the grievances that have been reported, and much of it was created by me, but with the input of the Jamaican people. Those who have been traversing this page, they have been giving insight and input on what to craft within the document. So this is a collaborative effort of we the people. Question, do you have to answer a police when they ask the question, where do you work? No, you can decline. You don't have to answer those questions. Um, so, all right. So we have. Oh, Kima, you want to come up? You know, say I think we spoke before. So you're going to submit it to the government? No, we are not going to submit nothing to no government. That is definitely not the plan. Anyone sitting to give input for original tribal people? I am not sure. No, I know there was a suggestion to include treaties that not treaties, declarations that mention native tribes, but again, that is something that would have to be recrafted because these declarations that we see, like the UDRIP, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and all of these different documents, they are frameworks. They are not actual documents that provide penalties or provide enforcement mechanisms. So they are not effective. Like people would say, why don't you add this to the constitution? It is not as simple as just adding it, because the problem again is its recognition and its enforceability, not just adding it because it sounds good. Right? I am not following. Why is this document being created? That means you're just arriving. You missed the entire live. Right? This document is being created because Jamaica does not currently have a constitution. What we call a constitution in Jamaica is not a constitution. It is an order from the British Crown. IT Comtech says, I am not following. Why is this document being created? Okay, that's what I just answered. We don't have a constitution. Let us go back here. We're not going to go too much back and forth, but I'm going to show you very simply. This is the current constitution. Right? See it here at the top? Jamaica, in brackets, Constitution, Order in Council, 1962. This is not a constitution. It is in brackets. See it here, and I miggle again. It is in brackets. Right? If you actually read the document, any section of it, you will see the references to the Crown. You will see the references to the orders that it's giving in this document, to the various different parliaments. If you go and you look at the Jamaica Independence Act, it will clearly tell you it is a political independence. It was never an independence of the people. So that is why we are creating a constitution for we the people of Jamaica. It is not something that just because it sounds good. It is because we don't have any. That is why our rights are often not respected. iAlive says treaties make constitutions. That is not true. Treaties are treaties. Constitutions are constitutions. Constitutors make constitutions. I just suggest something. Take a look. I'm not sure what you mean. We tribal people has our constitutions. Still valid. Public enemy number one says, what you are saying makes no sense. Well, it's not going to make sense to everyone. But thanks for the input. We need to hit up the Pope. Crown, bow to Pope. Ah, la, la. We the people of Jamaica want to be the people. We must be proud people and creative and rich in intellect. And treaties are contracts. We have treaties. Okay, it's a public enemy. That's good for you. What the fuck? I'm going to leave you in the comment section. That is fine. However way you want to see it, then by all means, enjoy yourself. But I'm just going to skip your comments going forward because you come over here as if you distract. Supreme Pontiff makes the laws. All right, so we are going too far off topic, right? Again, the point of the constitutional draft, again, is to get input from the wider public. If you feel there is something you would like to include, be sure to go ahead and make your submissions. Also, if you want to come up on the live, you can do that as well. The comment section is probably not a good place for you to explain yourself, but if you do want to share an idea within the comment section, you can do so. But beyond that, we are almost finished with the draft. Where do you make suggestions? Make suggestions, you go to voiceofjamaica.com. Let us go back. This is voiceofjamaica.com. You click on New Constitution. You scroll down on voiceofjamaica.com, click New Constitution. And right below where you can download the documents, here you have the constitutional draft suggestions. And you fill in your name or an alias, whatever. And here is where you would make your suggestions. Once you write up whatever suggestion you have, you hit submit. And it will send the suggestion in for posting on the site. And also going over it on our next session. So all of the suggestions are posted underneath the form, right? So you can see what others have suggested prior. So you might want to just look through real quick to make sure you're not submitting a duplicate request. All right. So that is how you make suggestions on voiceofjamaica.com. All right. So once we have finalized sharpening the language within the draft, then we're going to go ahead and start on step 2, and that will be coming possibly the next live or the next 2 lives. I will let everyone know what stage 2 is, and then we will proceed from there. But we're going to be sharpening the language here. We actually been through all of these sections so far. For those who missed the previous lives and you might want to see what we talked about before, on this same page where you can make the constitutional suggestions or where you can actually download or view the PDF documents, if you scroll all the way down, here we have the YouTube postings of all the lives that we've done constitutional drafting, right? So anyways, the other lives are going to be posted here as well, so that those who want to see and hear what we talked about, if you want to hear the gems as well, then you would be able to find them there as well. Any questions? Any questions thus far? We have, I think there was one more. Yeah, the other one is stage 2, so we're not there yet. We're gonna finish up sharpening the document, and once we are done with that, then we're going to move on to stage 2. So also, let me pull up back the where is it? I think this was it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Where is the date on this? All right. All right, so we got Higher Life one to come up. I'm not sure if that was a fat finger or not. Higher Life, lawful, welcome.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Yeah, no, I had wanted to come up because you were saying submission, so it's the same thing for submissions, right?
Like
The info, scroll down and go on. I'm going to
yeah.
go through it so I could know what is what. You know what I'm mean?
Yeah.
My concern was right because apparently this would be something new, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I think I hear somebody on the door, but I don't know. Hold on. So yeah, what I'm saying is something new. I look at it as a good opportunity if it's used correctly. Who that? Hold on. Eh? What? What's up? Oh, yeah, bread. Yeah, with the small one. Damn. Eat that much bread. Um. Yo.
All right, Aya, when you finish, you
Yeah,
come back up.
what I said, it's a good opportunity. Come here, dip on the phone, brethren. Thanks. Yeah, it's a good opportunity if the people them use it correctly, or if the people them involved. And it's like you said, because what you said was that treaties don't make constitution. I don't know how come you say that. Because remember, the land has owners. The original people are the land, are the owners of the land. As you said, the crown cannot own any land, which is true. However, so politics have certain things about whatever going on with certain things. And that I know where we are going to discuss. But if the people is included and know first of all, what's going on? Because a lot of things is the fact that the people them are not knowing of. They just think, say, well, it's just this. And that, if you know what I say, I'm not trying to be direct and call out anything, but it's either this or that. And they get with it and nothing ever is in it for them. You see? So if the people, because a constitution, from my knowledge in law, constitutions is what make the rule of law, is what it is. Treaties where was signed, yeah? And it's a contract. You see, because really what the treaties were signed for do is for commerce. You see, but we're not supposed to be the taxpayers. You know, see, because if you come from like heirs, if you're the heirs, whether it is in history, whether it is in politics, I know we supposed to pay the tax. You see, because if you're an heir or inheritor, or you see it by hereditary or by natal, yeah, then well, oh, that say you appear fit certain things. You understand? All that, yeah. So, but anyway, I was concerned about, how much involvement, because you see, there's a lot of tribal people that's here on land. You see it on territory. You see it. So it's like, if constitution are met, then who's sitting for the tribal ones?
Well, again, all right. So you asked several questions, so let me know when you finish so I can address each of them.
Okay, so go ahead and address all 5 of them.
Okay. So have you been following the page for a
No,
while?
I just got it tonight. I already looked it up and thing, but I didn't really go into the depths of reading. I just said, okay, all right. I think I did hear about the People's Court before, which, I don't see nothing wrong with that. However, remember saying a tentacles.
All right. Hold on a second. Hold on. So we want to address each thing individually, right? So the first thing is, over here we don't go by opinions. So we try to ensure that we find the facts and we go by what is written. So that way we speak lawfully and we speak within the confines of what we can actually prove. So when I say a constitution is not a treaty, I am not talking from opinion or from a conversational standpoint. This is the lawful definition of constitution and treaty. They are completely different. A treaty is an agreement that is typically international or typically between two separate bodies. A constitution is in no way, shape, or form something that can be considered a treaty. But
That's not what I said. I said treaties is what form constitutions. I didn't say
and I'm disagreeing
treaties
with you,
are
but
constitutions. Well, okay. Well, I mean, we can, because I deal with law, so I can send you the rules and everything.
here on the screen is the legal definition. This is the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition.
So that would be the lawful definition.
Right. Constitution in American law. And again, this goes across international borders
It's
as well.
still a contract because it's an
But hold on now.
instrument
Me not read the
agreed
definition yet.
upon. Yes, so it's a contract. Same thing as a treaty. A treaty is a contract. You see?
Well, Empress, I didn't read the definition yet. So if we're going to have a discussion, we have to make a point, and the other person can listen, and then we go from that standpoint. But I can't speak over you. All right, so you're going on mute. So a constitution, according to the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, the written instrument agreed upon by the people of the Union or of a particular state as the absolute rule of action and decision for all departments and officers of the government, in respect to all the points covered by it, which must control until it shall be changed by the authority which established it, and in opposition to which any act or ordinance of any such department or officer is null and void. Now let us take a look at the Oxford Dictionary of Law, because I know people are going to say, well, Black's Law this, Black's Law that. So here is the Oxford Dictionary of Law. 5th edition. Constitution. The rules and practices that determine the composition and functions of the organs of central and local government in a state and regulate the relationship between individual and the state. Most states have a written constitution, one of the fundamental provisions of which is that it can itself be amended only in accordance with a special procedure. The Constitution of the UK is largely unwritten. It consists partly of statutes, for the amendment of which by subsequent statutes no special procedure is required. See Acts of Parliament. But also, to a very significant extent, of common law rules and constitutional conventions. So, again, it is not a question of whether or not a constitution is a treaty or not. They cannot be the same.
So let's read treaty, because
Sure.
I was hearing you saying about the state. So if it is that right now, as we stand on territory, see, it is a corporation operating, see, then the state depends on the status of how you standing, you see, because the people got status. What give them that? Law. Give them status. It's just
Not
they don't
necessarily.
know why it don't. If every man have the right for a nationality, why they don't?
Because in law, in current colonial law and Western law, everything has to be on paper. You can't just be assumed to have a position unless it is on paper.
Well, I mean, if you declare and proclaim, because I mean, you know, you see, the status is what have you to could speak for yourself. Because I mean,
I agree.
if in the system you're listed as a minor, you can't speak for yourself.
All
You're
right,
listed
hold
as a
on.
minor.
Here we are at treaty. You ready? Treaty. An international agreement in writing between two states, a bilateral treaty, or a number of states, a multilateral treaty. Such agreements can also be known as conventions, pacts, protocols, final acts, arrangements, and general acts. Treaties are binding in international law and constitute the equivalent of the municipal law contract, convents, or legislation. Some treaties create law only for those states that are parties to them. Some codify pre-existing customary international law, and some propound rules that eventually develop into customary international law, binding upon all states. Example, the Genocide Convention. And we can go on and on and on. But nothing in here talks about a constitution. Like I said, a treaty is between international parties.
Well, go little further up. It says an agreement is the same. Remember, say the other one was an instrument of an agreement. Same thing, same contract. You see, it's not is the fact that a treaty is a contract that do form constitution, because in order to even have law, a rule of law, you have to have the agreement. You see, you have to have
Right.
the contract. So, that's why I said, weird that old people are tired, but they keep forgetting the people. They keep incorporating. You see it? And I don't hear anything for the people. So at that part, the me want to know about.
Right. And I agree with you that both of them are agreements. However, we have to stay here within the context of the words. Agreement in itself, it says such agreements. So this is contextual. This is not general. If it didn't have the subjectory word here, such, and it just says agreements can also be known as conventions, that would be different. But
I
this is
think
talking in the context of an international agreement. That's why it starts out
exactly.
with that.
So to me, to what I know, we are that. We are the ones that do have that international agreement with every state we're out there. You see, because that's where if we just go for what is just territorial, we're doing ourselves an injustice because we're everywhere. And if you really look at things, we need to really study what they're telling us geographically and everything, because something is not right. And we know that by the actions and why this place is so very important.
Right. Well, I get that, but we are going beyond the 2 points now when we're talking about recognition and we're talking about standing. That is completely different from these two topics that you just brought up. I get it, we've covered that in previous lives, but that is something in depth that we can't really talk about publicly here.
Oh yeah, it's a lot we cannot, but I do want to say that I would say that we're in more of an international status than just being what I mean. The Constitution is an agreement with who? We are the state.
Okay, well, that is where we're going to have a difference of opinion, but I am speaking from a difference of fact. We are not the state. We
Well, I
create
don't
the
know
state.
about you, but I know I'm the state because
Okay.
of my status.
Well,
Yeah, that's why I said
more
tribal.
power.
There's more tribes here than you know. You see, because there's so many nations of people that is here. That's why I say in forming a constitution, there is a lot of treaties, you see, that we would have to look into because there is a whole heap of people where they are, so that remember the constitution now would be the agreements in land, on territory.
Sister, we're kind of going off topic a little bit, and I have to bring up someone else because I'm limited on time. But thanks again for bringing forward those topics, and we will continue again on another live. Zine, big up yourself. I'm gonna bring up one bar of flour. One bar of flour. Welcome.
Hello? You hear me, Kelly?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome. Lawful.
I'm actually very surprised that I was added. Anyway, I'm going to challenge you a bit, all right? I don't want to say I'm any better than anybody when it comes to the law, but I am a law student, currently trying to become an attorney. And what's funny is my sister is the one who actually asked me to join the live. She's the attorney in the comment section, public enemy. Anyway,
Okay.
so the reason she asked me to join is she said that you would have said something earlier. I don't remember. She said that you would have said that, well, first one is that constitutions and the argument between constitutions and treaty. No, obviously, you are correct in saying that a treaty is completely different from a constitution. The constitution is usually the document that determines the organs of state, tells everything, the government, how to function, how to approach everything. It's the supreme document, right? And then a treaty is just pretty much like a contract between states. right? Here's the thing, though, just a minute point. Treaties can be treated as constitutions in a few cases, right? So you have founding documents that are determined as that are treated as constitutions. Like if you take the United States, for example, the first document that they had as a constitution was in fact a treaty between all the states. So the states would have come together and made and had an agreement, which was the founding document, and that was used as a constitution until such time that they changed it, obviously, right? You have also like the European Union, the treaty that created the European Union. Though the European Union is not a state, is in fact a constitution. And another thing that we talk about in international law is we call that. We call that. Sorry, I read the comments a while ago. Somebody said, "Watch lawyer buddy." I got distracted. Anyway, so yeah, another thing that we talk about in international law is the world's constitution. What we refer to is the founding treaty that would have started the United Nations. Very useless body, to be honest. But anyway, that aside, what she really wanted me to bring up is the ICCPR, which is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. She was asking if you would have taken that into consideration. It is one of those documents created by the United Nations that really talks about human rights, the rights that people should have. And yeah, I don't know if you've looked into it, but if you haven't, you should. You get extremely great points in respect to like making your suggestions to the government with respect to our changing constitution. And before you finally cut me off and tell me to come off your life,
I
another
want no such thing.
another
Go
point.
ahead.
Another point. I forgot actually. I'm tired. It's exam time. Okay, I'm exhausted. What was the other point? It was I forget. Sorry, I forgot. I think it was the earlier point that you guys were that she was trying to debate in the group, in the thing, which is why she called me. Um, in any sense, I don't remember. I don't know. I can't remember for the love life
Okay,
of me.
so a quick question for you. Do you have any context as to the conversation as it stands?
I joined the line immediately, live immediately after she called in, and she's like, she called me and she's like, "Are you studying?" I was like, "Yeah." And then she said, "Yo, join this. There's a live that I think you can participate in." So I was like, "Yo, what go on?" So she sent me the thing. I should follow. Let me follow you now. Yeah. So she sent me it, and then I was listening in. But when I came in, there was a lady in the thing. You guys were debating. Um, what she would have said to me was that you are making suggestions to the government in respect to the constitution, right? Because I believe you would be actively participating in the development of the new constitution. Yeah?
Absolutely not. And
No?
that's why I wanted to check
I see.
to see if you had the context about what we're speaking about over here.
Here.
And I can see where you would have had a footing if we were talking about that specific integration that you assume that we were trying to do, but that is absolutely not what we're doing.
Okay, my apologies.
No problem. But I definitely will take a look at the what was it, the ICCP?
PR.
ICCPR. Yes, I will take a look at it, but that is actually not necessarily what we are looking into.
What's the discussion?
The discussion is about a new constitutional draft that has nothing to do with what the government is suggesting.
I see.
Yes. So
Okay.
it is not an integration, it is not a request or a petition to the government. It has nothing to do with the current system of governance as we know it.
Okay, fair point. Okay, I understand. To my recollection, you guys were discussing the state. When I came in, I thought somebody was discussing the crown and crown owning land. Oh, I remember now. Let me rephrase. I don't remember. She just texted me. So, she's saying that you would have said earlier that let me read it. He was saying something about the crown not owning land. and that there is no true independence. Okay. Okay, let me tell you what her upset was then. All right, I think I can remember now. I can explain now. So her upset was that you would have said earlier, she's not gonna come up. Anyway, what she was saying is that you would have said earlier that the conversation was about political independence, saying it's not true independence, no real independence of the people, and that's her disagreement. But if we're talking in terms of like in reality, right? If we're looking beyond words,
Wait, hold on. Hold on a second. Again, I am not trying to interject with what you're trying to say, but I think you're speaking without context about what we actually are discussing. And you see, because you joined late, I'm not sure how much of it you caught. Because it is not a contention. It is not where we're discussing whether or not something is true. What I was doing was I was showing on screen what I was saying. So it is not me saying it. It is what the official government documents actually say. So if there's a disagreement about what is on the document, that is where we start. But we can't start with opinions because we don't do opinions.
No, man, I don't mean to opine,
Right.
So what we're discussing is really the Constitution, right? You are saying to them, based on what I was told, because I never got this part of the conversation. I was not here for this part of the conversation, that we don't actually have a constitution, that it was the Order in Council that we use as our constitution. Jamaica Constitution Order in Council, I believe is what it's called, right?
1962, correct.
Right. So I think you were saying that if we look throughout the document, it mentions the crown several times, right? And I believe she was saying that you were trying to say that all we have is political independence, and she does agree with respect to the fact that we only have political independence. But if we're talking about what political independence is, it is complete independence. The only thing that ties us to, I wouldn't even say we are tied to the United Kingdom. We're really just tied to the monarch, right? And the monarch is only symbolic. So we have the Commonwealth. I don't know if you know about the Commonwealth, country Commonwealth.
Hold on. No, son, I run past that one there so quick. What do you mean it is only symbolic? You mean that they don't have any power as it relates to Jamaica?
The monarch has no power in Jamaica.
All right. Where is our Privy Council? All
right. So this is how we're going to discuss this, right? We're going to discuss this as two different issues because I don't want to make it convoluted and complicated, right? So first, the supreme law of Jamaica, the supreme law is the Constitution, that Order in Council. Anything that abridges or infringes that document cannot stand. That's just that.
That's not true. I disagree. Firstly, the courts have done that repeatedly under the guise of either public good or whatever they deem to be necessary.
If you're going to say that the courts have disregarded the Constitution, No. I do not. You can never say that the courts disregarded or like abridged or infringed the Constitution. What you can say is that, okay, first off, this is a concept that we're currently doing in class. Actually, it's hilarious. So it is what you'd have to think about is the way in which the Constitution is being interpreted, right? Yes, indeed, it would appear sometimes that when the courts make decisions, it seems as though what the law is, what it says, is completely disregarded, right? Let's take an example. We currently have the Charter for Fundamental Rights, right? And that gives you freedom of expression. You can say and do anything you want in any way, shape, or form, right? So what that would mean is you should be able to say any expletive you want, and no police is not supposed to can lock you up because that is simply what it is, right? However, you and I know that if you go on stage right now, cuss a bad word, the police is going to lock you up and say that you would have broken the law. The reason for that is within our constitution we have clauses that are called savings law clauses. Those clauses would have granted, right, all laws, pre-colonial existing laws to be in effect to this day. So the
Right.
Constitution itself grants those laws authority. The reason for this when the Constitution was being built was supposed to be something temporary. You don't want to throw the new country into a state where, oh, we don't have any laws. All the laws before are old and outdated. We just need to quickly make them up. It can't work like that. So they have the savings law clauses to ensure that that stands. And our government was supposed to make new laws to substitute the old ones so as to, it's supposed to be a living document. So we
hold
have
on.
that. Go
Hold
ahead.
on. So those of you who were on the previous live, wanna hear confirmation now from a last student? Continue, sir.
Somebody said, "Oh, yes, it does contradict itself." You're right. So in the Constitution, it will say, "Hey, you have all these rights," and it lists every last one of them. And then if we continue read,
No,
if
it
I'm not,
doesn't. It doesn't list all the rights. It only enumerates some of them. But go ahead.
my apologies, that's what I meant, right? And then if you continue reading, if I'm not mistaken, section 13, subsection 12 would talk about the fact that you can go to court and determine like whether or not your right have been infringed, granting you access to the Supreme Court to challenge any infringement of your rights, right? Then continuing through the Constitution, you'll find that in the Constitution say, but hear what? These laws that exist before are still in effect until such time that the Jamaican government decides to change it, right? The reason she is upset is because it is from a legal standpoint, the supreme law is the Constitution. It's a Constitution that grants those old laws. It's a Constitution that says these existing laws are perfectly fine. They are to be in effect, remain in effect until such time that the government changes it. If I quoted the section wrong, my apologies. I don't believe I
No,
did.
man. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
No, it's because I'm reading the comments and talking at the same time. If I quote the section wrong, I'm doomed because I have exams in 2 weeks. So that's crazy.
Right. So again, we're not here in disagreement with anything that you are saying. However, my comment was the courts have consistently ruled in violation of those constitutional protections under various guises, right? Sometimes if you don't properly plead that you have a right that was infringed, you know, they can clearly decide that, well, you didn't bring it up as an issue, so therefore it wasn't considered. Many different ways for them to do many things.
But
right?
do you think that's fair to say that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
No,
Ridiculous.
let me rephrase the question. I meant to say, do you think that it is fair for you to say that it's a court that is doing that? You have to remember now, well, maybe you don't agree with the legal system either, so I don't even know how to argue that. But our system is adversarial. The judges.
Hold
Go
on.
ahead.
Let me make something clear here. We all right, let us call it, for all intents and purposes, let us call it the Constitution. We are claiming that we gain political independence. And instead of the newly constituted government go to work and formulate their own laws, then too tired, so now they're going to include a savings clause to bring colonial laws that were in force and effect prior to the Constitution forward. And not only that, it has been over 60 years now since that Constitution was instituted, and there have been amendments, including the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. Sections of it, let me rephrase, few sections of the Charter was incorporated into an amendment. And up to this point, we still have laws that go back to the 1800s that are still in force and effect in Jamaica today that talk about donkey and horse and all that kind of something. And there has been no change, whether the abolishment of those ancient and sometimes irrelevant laws, and there have been no amendment to support anything where the people actually input in changing the laws. When they have press conference and all these things, do they actually take the suggestions of the people to make the laws, or does Parliament and the House and whoever else in there just constitute and put together a document and say, hey, you know, say we do this?
But that is a fair criticism of the government. I would never ever argue with you in respect to the government and the work that they're doing, because it's nothing. There's no work being done by them, if you ask me. That's a fair criticism of the government. But what I'm trying to assert, yeah, is that our constitution is supreme. And I was making the point that the monarch of the United Kingdom, or named the monarch of Jamaica, though we don't accept them ever, is they don't really have any power. They're completely symbolic in our system.
So all right, hold on.
And before you cut me off, because I don't want to forget this, and the point you asked earlier, the question you asked earlier was, where is our final court? You're right that the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council is our final court, but that is because it is named in the Constitution, and you know who has the right to change that? Our government. That's what political independence is. So if our government tomorrow decide, you know what, we don't want this anymore, and vote to change it, that is it. Well, of course, not simple vote, because it is entrenched. So you need to go. I think it's entrenched. So you have to do other things to change it. But
right.
Entrenchments are very important in the Constitution, you know. Entrenchments are because you don't want certain things to easily be changed. If let's say the Charter of Fundamental Rights, right? If tomorrow I have a majority in Parliament, and I am the government, and I do not want you people to have certain rights, and we simply just vote and remove those rights, there would be nothing. There's been nothing you can do. So the purpose of entrenchment is to ensure that no one government can simply change anything just so. So you need a 2/3 majority for certain things, and then you need a referendum for certain things. Yeah. So
right, we're familiar.
Right. So the point I'm making earlier is that the crown has no. I shouldn't say the crown. I should say the monarch has no right or power in Jamaica. It's completely symbolic. They have the same powers as the Governor General, and every day we get up and say the Governor General has nothing at all, like no powers. And the reason that is because the UK moving away from an absolute monarchy for years and years and years and years, and what we inherited was a constitutional monarchy, just a symbolic person, and what we say is the embodiment of the state, representing what is the constitution, representing what is the organs of the state, right? But he is completely symbolic. Should we remove the monarch? Absolutely. Never agreed with it a day in my life. And should we remove the Privy Council? No, that's a debate a lot of people are afraid to have. On the one hand, the Privy Council have decades and decades and decades of jurisprudence, but in my opinion, they're no better than any Jamaican judge. They're not any more educated than any Jamaican judges. I just feel like our court don't get enough resources, and that's again the problem with the government not funding our courts properly. Right? In my view, I shouldn't even make this seem as it is an opinion, because this is just factual. The monarch, if let's say King Charles come here tomorrow, what powers do you believe he has? What could he do?
As far as what exactly? Anything?
Anything at all in terms of actual power that he can. What can he do?
He can do many things, but he certainly would not exercise it in any public way.
No, I hear you. So that's an argument we've heard several times. That, oh, he wouldn't exercise these powers. He would, but what power can he actually exercise? And I don't mean because the only right. This is what they say to us. The only right that the king or monarch has is to be advised, to warn, and to counsel.
Okay, so how do they
So
enforce that?
that's the thing. The monarch has no enforcement powers. The monarch has literally the monarch cannot in any way, shape, or form participate in executive, and it is executive
Right, because it's delegated. But I'm not going to get into that section of law because now we're going to talk about things that are outside of the scope. However, my question to you is this. Are you saying, okay, so what is the crown? What is your interpretation of the crown?
the embodiment of the state, somebody who represents the state, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. The crown is
Why
the
is
head
it
of. Go
called the
ahead.
crown? Hold on, man. Hold on there. No run so fast with the crown. What is the crown? You can't. Okay, you're saying the embodiment of the state, right? A state is what?
A country.
Okay. So are we saying Jamaica is the crown? The government of Jamaica is the crown?
All right. So if we're talking from a legal standpoint, right, the government of Jamaica is the crown in terms of the hands of the crown. That's something that we say, the hands of the crown. So if just a moment, let me make the point. So if ever you have a case before a case in the courts, you'll find that you are going against the state, and the state is obviously it's against the king. It's against the king that you have your challenge. However, who exactly are the persons bringing the matter? The king has no say in that. The king does not do anything, any functions of that, does not do anything in that regard. It is the government that does that. So the DPP, who represents, air quotes, represents the king, acts through the executive, right? And it is the executive that does everything in relation to healthcare, in regards to schools and all of that. What I'm saying is the governor general and the monarch has absolutely literally no power, except in very minute circumstances for very trivial things, right? So let me explain. Let me say the trivial thing. So, for example, whenever an independent body is supposed to be named, it's the governor general who appoints, air quotes, appoints the person. This is on the advice of the prime minister and the opposition leader, which means the opposition leader and the prime minister has to be in agreement and then just tell the governor general, who then signs off on the document to make it official. That is a symbolic power. The governor general cannot refuse to do it because the constitution does not give him the right to disagree, which means the king would not be able to disagree in those circumstances either. It means then that they have absolutely no power. They cannot do anything. The crown could not come here tomorrow and remove Prime Minister, Andrew Holness as Prime Minister. Couldn't, in any way, shape, or form. Couldn't, right? They couldn't. He could not determine, because remember, that's an executive. Sorry, my apologies. That's an elected person, right? You're right in saying that the crown. You asked me the question: what is a crown? Again, the crown is literally the symbol of the state. It's just the monarch, who is a symbolic body, a symbolic institution. If what more I point out for me, is what power do they have, so I can then rebut it, if any. Like, what could they do?
There is no claim here other than if the state is supposed to be the government of Jamaica, why are we using symbolic political representations in almost all aspects of our legal system?
You're right. You're right to assert that it is asinine. It is. But if you look throughout a lot of countries, that's just how it is. Not that it
No,
makes sense.
we're not looking past and using references. We're in Jamaica and we're talking about Jamaican law, and Jamaican law is not Jamaican law. So many times the court itself has said Jamaica should be independent of the crown to basically grow as a legal institution within the country and to mature. But if Jamaica does not separate itself from the crown, Jamaica does not have any legal future. It forever has to depend on common law, which is basically an infinite body of law.
No, not necessarily. No, I can't
Infinite.
agree with that. I cannot agree with that. I can't agree with that. The reason I cannot agree with that, outside of the saving law clauses, which I would have mentioned, if let's say tomorrow, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, useless though he is, decides that he wants to change the savings law clause, right? And then the opposition agrees, useless though they are as well, decide that they are going to in fact agree and change the savings law clause tomorrow, and they do it. We do not have to look to those existing laws. We will never have to look at those existing laws again.
Very good point.
But that is because we have political independence. We have the right to change the law as we see fit. We have the right to change the constitution as we see fit. The reason we can discuss removing the crown, and removing the court is because we have the right to do it. The Constitution grants us that permission. No country, we don't have to go to the United Kingdom and go to their parliament to ask for anything as we used to do, because before we never had independence. We were just a colony, and before we'd have to go to the crown or go to the parliament and say, "Yo, this is what Jamaica wants," and then they decide if this is what we're going to get or not. We don't have to do that anymore. We don't even have to petition the king in any way, shape, or form for anything.
But you are still jumping around the question.
Shoot me the question. I'm not familiar with the question, it seems.
The question is, if the crown is truly only symbolic, why are we using it? And secondly, why do we have a governor general?
Oh, if that is the debate, if that is the debate,
it's not a debate. It's just a question. We don't even hold on. Let me make things clear. We don't even go further with this topic on this live because it is a non-ending situation because there is no conclusivity in law. It is just there based on the Constitution. So my question to you is,
all right, let me answer the question as to why it is there, right? So the monarch is still the head of state of Jamaica, or let me rephrase it like this. The monarch is the head of state of Jamaica at independence, right? Because of one reason. The monarch wanted to have ties to all its previous colonies. That's it. Okay. So when Jamaica went to the crown, and this is the point I am making, that we had to go to the crown, we had to go to the parliament to ask for what we wanted. When Jamaica went to the crown and we say, hey, so we want independence though, we do not want to be dependent on you guys anymore, we don't need permission for anything, we can do it ourselves. We went there, and then when we went to the crown, our government at the time said, this is what we want, right? And then the crown said, all right, this is what you're not going to get, right? Remember, at that time, they had every right. That's because we were the colony, right?
They had a right to petition and ask, correct?
Right. So what the point I'm making, though, is that the crown at the time had the right to say, no, you're not going to get that. And the reason that they had the right to do that is because at that time, we were, in fact, dependent, right? The Constitution was not in effect. We never had a Constitution at that time, right? So when they made the petition, when we went and we discussed, you know what they did? They said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to copy and paste all the other constitutions that we've had in the past, and they said, this is what we're going to give to you. And what we're referring to is, if you look at the Canadian Constitution, that's the first one, and the Australian Constitution, and the New Zealand Constitution, and all the other Commonwealth constitutions, they are identical in nature. They all look very similar, very, very similar. It's a copy and paste and then some changes to make them match the country and the country's needs, right? So the aim that they had at the time was to ensure that the monarch appeared to be as powerful as it was in the past. It's not absolute monarchy, they don't have a single power anymore. So the point then was to make it appear that the crown is still very powerful. The crown still had all these armies. If anything, we can call upon all the Commonwealth countries because we're one and say we have a huge army. But then after the political independence, you realize that New Zealand say, oh, me not fight for no wars with the United Kingdom. Australia say, me not do it either. Me have every right to determine my army. Because the crown no longer controls our defense. And the crown no longer controls anything political in our country, but are just a symbolic body who just pretend to be important. Which is why when Andrew Holness said in front of the was it the king, the prince at the time, the other day when he was here, said we do intend to remove Her Majesty. It was like, yeah, as he should, because there's no need for a white man, a man that don't look like my complexion in any way, shape, or form of the majority of the people of Jamaica, though it doesn't matter, right? To be sitting as our symbolic head from afar. And we don't need a governor general to be representing somebody from afar who has no interest in our country. So you're right.
Good.
Sorry?
No, we're coming around to it. Good. Go ahead.
So the point in respect to having it is asinine, it's stupid. But the reason it's there, answering the question as the reason it's there, is because the United Kingdom wanted to have their crown appear to be as powerful as it was in the past. That's the core reason as to why it exists.
But even so, when we have acts of parliament, right?
Mhm.
The governor general, which is the representative of the crown, doesn't he have to sign everything before it gets published in the Gazette?
Yes.
Okay. Regardless of how we want to term it, symbolic or this or that, the point is, if he does not sign an assent to that document, whether it be from the suggestion or in consultation with whosoever parliament member, he has to sign that for it to go into effect.
True.
Point blank. Now, question for you. Interesting question. Not really off topic, but in law, since you're in law school, when you have something in brackets, what does it mean? Like if you have a legal document and you put something in brackets, what does it mean?
No, that's a question I can't answer because I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't want to play.
Listen, that was the most important question on this line.
I'm not going to come on here and pretend like I know everything, but we don't know the answer to that question.
All right. We're not gonna bust your chops, but I get you and I get the explanations and all of that. However, I will unequivocally say that regardless of how it is viewed, how the position is viewed, wherever it is written, wherever it is being exercised as a power, whether it be symbolic or not, once we have, it's just like you have water. If a little bit of dirt get in it, most people not gonna drink it. It's just like if you have anything, once there is some form of corruption that is not native to the thing, it is going to be a problem, or it can be a problem. Right? Now, at the end of the day, I am not here saying that, them figure dead off and go and all. We not depend that. We are not here to bash anything. It is just that if something is unlawful, or if it is wrong, or if it does not support the interests of the people, that is what we really discuss over here, and how we can actually do something about it. So,
All right. So let me ask this question. Everybody's in the comment attacking me, though. It's hilarious. Yeah, it's not a question about making him feel bright. Guys, you have to understand, right? I am a law student, not an attorney, right? That's one. And two, everything that I would have said is grounded in not just law, but like international law. That's what I am studying currently, right? I would not come here and say that I know everything, because I do not, right?
Right.
But what I'm certain of is the things that you are saying, they aren't wrong. In fact, what I've recognized is what you're doing is asking questions. The question you are asking is, why is this the case? Why is this so? I completely hear you. I'm providing you with an historical context as to what would have caused it to be the case. And with respect to the question, why is the Governor General still in place? The incompetence or lack of courage or just simple, like, no care from the government, because it takes the stroke of a pen and a referendum to remove the Governor General, or to remove the crown. Yeah. With Shadow. I shouldn't be reading the comments. I'm sorry. And then with
Hey,
with
Ken, behave yourself.
I feel this is my personal view. This is no longer a question of what is fact or whatever. I genuinely believe that it is the people's right to determine what it is that they want. The right to self-determination is very important to me. When wants me to learn that in international law. So yes, are we supposed to write to constitution? Make it majority determine that this is what we want, and then it is reviewed, and then it is determined that this is what we will get, right? But to
Right.
answer the question, yes, the Governor General definitely should be removed. The Crown definitely should be removed. We shouldn't be referring to colonial era laws anymore. All of those things can easily be changed. It's really the people who were voting. That's it. It's really the people that we vote in. Because I feel like if you were the prime minister today and you have a parliament behind you who support your point of view, you could easily do it. You would not need to petition the king for anything. Barbados removed the crown from their something, and that's not because they needed to petition. And I just like to remind you that the judicial committee of the Privy Council is distinct from the crown, right? Because you can, in fact, utilize the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council as your final court and don't have the crown as your monarch. If you look at Trinidad and Tobago, they do not have the crown as their monarch for years now. Right? They have a president and they do not refer to the monarch in their legislation in any way, shape, or form. Attorneys do not get called crown counsel, king counsel, or queen counsel ever. Right? That is because they do not use the monarch at all, but they still go to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council as their final court of appeal. And that is because in their constitution allows them to do that, right? We have this course called admin law, and in admin law, what we learn is that there's a strong movement to move to the privy to move to the common what's it called? Oh my God, the Caribbean Court of Justice,
Right.
right? With the Caribbean Court of Justice, we can easily have I won't say local, but a regional court that determines that would be our final court of appeal, and we can easily have a local court a local court for final appeal. But it is really dependent on whether or not our government supports that view. It's just that.
Right. I agree. But at the same time, some of the issues that we're facing with some of these pre-colonial, or you can still call it colonial, because in my view, if something is abolished or something is no longer in force and effect, all references to it should have been extinguished. But again, this is just from an outside perspective. But at the end of the day, it is still there, right? And when we talk about even the Caribbean Court of Justice, they are still using the same type of jurisprudence to determine matters. It is no different in many cases from the Privy Council or the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals. They're still using the same judicial framework.
Oh, so wait, is it so if so would it be that you'd like to remove Jamaica from the common law legal system altogether?
Let me ask you a question. How many different types of legal systems do we have?
I mean, in the world,
No, just on this side of the world.
we have several different types. You have the common law legal system. You have mixed legal system. You have religious legal systems, and you have the one that is common throughout Europe, which is God forgive me. This is first year of law school, guys. What is it? It's the what I don't know.
All right.
But
So,
I have the understanding of all of them, right? So with the common law, everybody understand that it's literally just a body of we call it stare decisis, where all the previous decisions of the courts are in some sense binding based on where the decision is made. So if you make a decision in the lower court, it can easily be overturned by a superior court. And once it is made at the highest court, it is now determined to be the law. It's just, you just can't, the only person that can overturn it is Parliament or that court.
Well, I do not believe Parliament has the power to overturn a judicial decision.
When I say overturn, no, they can't overturn the judicial decision. Certainly, I just meant that they can change the law, which in that sense would then change the stare decisis. So the court would
Hold
never.
on. Good. They can change the law. Which law is that?
That was just an example.
All right. Hold on. So we have two prevalent bodies of law. We have statutory law,
Right.
which is the written law, which typically goes through Parliament.
Yeah, those legislation.
And the Constitution is considered statutory law. And we have the common law. Now, the question is, does the court have the authority to be using common law?
Does the court have the authority to be using common law? How do I answer that question? All right, hold on. I have to think about that. Yes. And let me explain. Let me explain. So you have to remember that the way in which the Commonwealth operate is
All right, hold on, wait, because I've allowed you to explain several points, but here's where we have to come to factual determinations. We cannot use examples. So give me a reference.
Oh, you are okay. Let me see if I can ask the question more directly. Are you asking me if the court has the right to utilize stare decisis, the decisions of previous courts? Is this a practice that is outlined in the Constitution? Is that what you're asking me? It feels like that's what
do
you're
they
asking.
have no? The question is, does the court, meaning any court of Jamaica, have the authority to be using common law as the determining factor in court cases?
Yes.
Where do we have that reference?
So you're asking me. See, this is why I'm a bit confused. I'm trying to understand the core question that you're asking. You know.
No, if you say yes, then you should be able to give the reason for your answer. It's that simple.
The Jamaican government is the Commonwealth of Jamaica. The Commonwealth utilizes the common law system, legal system, which is a body of laws, as you would have mentioned, partly written, and the others previous decisions, which are hierarchical. So every decision that are made in higher courts are considered to be supreme to any decision made in lower courts. So this becomes persuasive in nature or binding in nature when it comes to other decisions.
Right, we get that. We get the jurisprudence of it. But the question was, where does this authority come from?
Tradition.
Is it an unwritten rule?
It is.
Okay. So hold on.
The argument can easily be that this is codified in the Constitution as a saving law. Yeah?
Where?
As I said, as a savings law.
All right,
Right?
hold on. 1 second. Let's slow down a bit. Now, the question now is, do we have a separation of powers in Jamaica?
Yes, we do.
So wouldn't that be a violation of the separation of powers?
No, because when courts are making a determination as to whether or not the separation of powers have been, in fact, you've broken that. It is determined based on intent. Like the intent of, you have to focus on what the purpose of each of the branches are.
No, you're deviating now from statutory law.
No, I'm answering your question. No, I promise I'm answering your question. You're saying okay. What you're saying is when the judges
No. Let me be clear first. I'm just going to clarify what I said, and then I'm going to let you continue.
Yeah, sure.
So when I say the separation of powers, we have 3 arms of government, right?
Right.
We have the legislative,
executive, and the judiciary. Yeah.
All right. So the legislative does what?
They write the laws. They make the laws.
All right. Thank you very much. So now the judicial.
They are supposed to interpret.
All right. Good. Go ahead.
So, yeah, that's what I'm answering, and I know I'll get your question. So you know why I find this very funny is because we would have had to debate this sometime. ago in law school. Eh? So the question is, it's core in respect to how judges make decisions. We have different ways in which they interpret the law, and this is why I'm going to use the words they use: interpret the law. Right? You have the golden rule, you have the literal rule, and for some reason, I don't remember the third one, but that's the one that we're discussing right now. Right? When you're using the literal rule, you're reading exactly what is written by Parliament, and you're saying this is what the law is, this is how it shall be. Full stop. The golden rule is where you look to the intention of Parliament. This is what is written, but this is what Parliament intended. So this is what we're going to use. You understand? So when the court look at the words of Parliament and the action, it's like, this kind of out of the scope. This, what you do, not exactly break the law according to what Parliament wrote. But if we look to exactly what Parliament hoped to prevent, then you would have broken the law. That is when they're looking at intent. Now, what you're referring to now is the fact that judges are, air quotes, making their own laws, right? So when the judge make a decision, you're like, this new, I mean, I see this written nowhere. This not come from anywhere, yeah? True. It's true. So we've debated and we say, oh, how is it that the judges are making laws? And then what the court is saying, that we do not make laws. No, we make sense of the laws that have been written. Because if it is that they write something and it does not match the full scope of their intention, we have to ensure that everybody understands that this is the full scope. They say don't run at 9 o'clock, and you run at 9 o'clock to save your life. That's an exception. We've just created an exception, but I did not write the law. I simply made the law make sense. You get what I say? That's the argument we come to understand in how the common law works, or the common law legal system works. The civil law is completely different, which I'm not going to go into. But yeah.
Okay, so you do not have a direct reference to what was discussed. Is that your conclusion?
I don't know what's happening with my internet. You hearing me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was my conclusion.
So, all right. I'm going to rebut your argument very succinctly. Firstly, who determines the intention of Parliament without consulting Parliament itself? Where does that judicial power come from to, on the spot, determine what a completely different body intended in their own written and passed laws? A little bit further than that. Even if, let us assume that the court determined that this was the intention of Parliament, right? Fine. They could not reference, which they currently do. They could no longer reference anything in no past court talking about this is no ruling precedence, or this is now the authority on the matter, because you are referring to your own ruling as the law. So now you don't have a separate legislative body. Now what you have is judge and jury. They might not execute everything, but now you have judge and jury in the same department of government, which is a violation of the separation of powers. Unquestionably, because Parliament is still reachable. The court has no inherent power to sit there and determine what an intention is without asking. It is the same thing within a court case. If a judge wants clarification on something, what do? They ask the attorneys, or they bring the party up. Isn't that what they do?
Right.
So again, this is just a discussion. That is a direct rebuttal to the presumption or the assumption that the judges or the courts can readily come and talk about, well, we're going to make this ruling because this is the intention of what should have been, but it does not appear to have been completely written out for everyone to understand it. Garbage. 100% garbage. And if such, anyways, we're not going to go too far into that. But what I'm saying is that is an argument that, if argued properly, that can crumble
No,
devastatingly.
but the thing is that has been that's been argued before the court several times.
Absolutely
Like
not. Give me an
no,
example.
you go ask me randomly to give you to quote a case to you. No, you can't. That is crazy.
No,
You go
no, man.
ask me.
No. When you get a chance, send me an example. No problem.
Of course, man. I can go and look for a case, but to ask me randomly to just quote a case is crazy, man.
No problem.
But no, man. If memory serves correctly, um, that has been that this is not a new debate. This is a huge contention because it's been argued that yes, this is judicial lawmaking, and why is the judges making laws? But the argument is that they are not making laws; they're in fact filling the gap. If Parliament creates a law to deal with a specific issue, and the law is silent to particular matters in regards to that issue, the only thing that can be done is for no. Here's the thing. I know you disagree because you've already
No,
said
man. Finish the
you've
sentence.
already.
Finish the
I'm
sentence.
going to. I'm going to finish. You've already asserted that they could just call Parliament and say, "What is your intention? What is it? What you intended?" But the issue, the issue with our system is that the words of Parliament is irrelevant unless it is written unless it is written. Yeah, it so you can never call up a representative from Parliament and ask what was the true intention of this.
No, man. No, I didn't mean it that way. I mean they could send a communication over because them let people wait too much in years for them case come to fruition. So it's no problem to wait another month. It can be sent to the next parliamentary session.
For them to vote and make a determination.
Not even to vote. It can be considered. It can be sent to Parliament to a regular session, and it is introduced to the clerk, and the clerk introduce it to the Speaker of the House, and the Speaker of the House do what they need to do and go through the process.
Right,
That,
which
that-
would then have to what I'm saying is it would have to go it would have to move to a vote. Well, this idea is not yet a concept in our constitution in any or anywhere at all actually in the world. I do not believe courts go back to parliament for intention, right? I'm not saying that is a bad idea because it very much clean cut. If you go to the people who actually write the law, them can tell you what they intended. Fair, but what I believe the intent of the framers of our constitution and those who would have developed the state decisis of the United Kingdom is to have the judges as the ones who determine what Parliament meant, right? They interpret. And in that case, when they interpret, if the gap is filled and Parliament don't agree with the gap, change the law or include what is meant in the new law, and so everything is clear cut. That way, if Parliament, if the judges make a decision and this Parliament says this is unacceptable, they just go back to the drawing board and make a determination as to include these particular scenarios in the legislation. Now, you can argue that maybe this kind of backward, though, this kind of backward because this particular case is before the judges and their decision does not support exactly what Parliament meant. And so this one person who just brought a case, them not get a fair decision because the intent of Parliament was not realized in this session. But it's just how it is. Could we change it with a new constitution? Definitely.
No. So let me clarify a few things here, because I realize you are inferring certain things. The first thing is that the intent to create a judicial structure in Jamaica was of colonial intent in the first place. That has never changed. The only thing that was changed was, again, the political independence. All of the other arms and the moving mechanics of the law as it relates to Jamaica was never recreated. It was never formed in a way to be for the people, per se. It was just readopted so that, again...
I can agree with you that we had... Oh, my apologies. I'm sorry. I never realized we were talking. Go ahead.
Right. So just like you said earlier, and we've discussed this before, the reason they had the savings clause in the Constitution was so that the government would not collapse, or the faculties of society would not be in such a state that it would cause chaos, right? Where they would have to be rushing to put other things into place. But at the same time, when we talk about judicial efficiency or judicial interpretation of certain things. The problem with that is there is no checks and balances as it comes to common law, because what? The legislative body is the only one supposed to be creating the laws. Now, if the courts are relying on their own decisions, who is policing the courts? Who is reviewing the courts? Who is now keeping the courts in check?
All right, that's partially an argument I can accept in terms of the checks and balance for in Commonwealth Caribbean systems, legal systems, in that the court is supposed to be independent so as to be so as not to be influenced by the other branches, right?
No. Not influenced by the other branches. You cannot be the sole authority on the thing that you are enforcing. That is corruption.
No. So in the legal system, in our legal system, right? The reason we have so many courts, is literally so that it can be policed. Now you go probably think of it like the JCF. You say, oh, this a man a shoot a man, and you go have one internal body in the JCF to determine whether or not him shoot the person. Of course, you go agree with the police, but that's not the same. It's not the same. The other day, I don't know if you read the newspaper where an attorney, a senior attorney, was saying that the chief justice is supposed to be at the head, the top court, because like whenever he makes a decision, how is it that the appellate court are overturned for him decision, and he is the highest judge? That don't make no sense. How are you the highest judge and a court above you now? I tell you, say you wrong, right? The thing is, all the courts are to a sense independent. And I said to a sense because previous decisions of higher courts become binding on them, right? To a sense, are independent to interpret the law according to the ways in which laws are to be interpreted. That is how the judges are trained, years and years and years of school,
Yeah, but
studying
they're
the
not
legal
doing that.
system. Yeah, I must disagree with you. I must disagree with you, because when you sit down and read a decision and you read the reasoning behind the court's determination, why the judge did what he did, why the judge said what they said, it's always grounded in the legislation and the legal framework. It never goes outside. It never comes to a situation where it says, oh, you know, say me the judge feel like say this is the case. You have to remember, judges,
How much
there's
you
an
look on that?
hold on. You have to remember that there's an independent body. And good. Wait. Oh, me just realized how to answer your question. There's an independent body, right, that oversees and reviews how judges operate and make their decisions, right? You know how a judge get removed? You know how a judge get removed in Jamaica, right? It is that independent body that reviews how the judges operate and makes their decisions, which is why judges don't, and I don't want to say ever because they have, but which is why judges rarely step outside their framework. It's why they rarely what we call ultra vires, because they have to operate within the confines and the ambit of their role. Yeah, and whenever they do not do that, whenever them step out so far, what happen is you go to another court and the court, this was absolute BS, turn it over. And in another court,
No. Make sure you say the word if it goes to another court.
fair assessment that there are certain cases that just don't go any further. You're right. Because it take money for fair appeal. You're right.
Okay.
And it take time where people don't have fair appeal. You're very much right. The speed of justice is extremely slow, and that is an excellent criticism where anybody will watch or read anything with law would know. I as a person who aspire to become an attorney, why sometimes me think to myself the judges need a box, because why the mention date is October 1st and the first day you go call me to court for the first hearing is December 29. It don't make no sense, right? Me can't sit down and wait so long for justice. And then after you determine that I was at fault and I was wrong and me say me I go appeal, I have to first make a petition to the Supreme Court to determine if I can in fact appeal. Because you have to have somebody review the entire court process and everything and say, me can't see the argument. It makes sense. Make somebody else review it. That don't make sense to me. I want to appeal, make me appeal. Bring it to somebody else so we can review it. So there are a few things that you're completely right in terms of like would need to change. But in my opinion, the common law legal system far exceeds and is so much superior to the civil. That's the one I couldn't remember earlier. To the civil legal system. In the US, they have a mixed system. Mostly common law, but a bit of the civil legal system. A mixed system kind of answer a lot of the questions, right? So it's not always stare decisis for certain things, particular rights-based related things, and that makes sense. But to me, the common law legal system, when you remove all the colonial era laws, which our government should immediately do, and remove the crown from the happenings of our country, far superior system, something that is influenced for the people and by the people.
All right, I have a question for you. So you're calling civil law statutory law, right? My question to you is this. Why do you think we should rely on common law rather than strictly relying on statutory or civil law?
All right. So as we would have discussed before, the way in which the court operator makes its decision, when the legislation is written, it is next to impossible for the legislature to write in every way, shape, or form how the law will apply. There will always be exceptions. There will always be new ways in which things happen. There is always going to be a test that is required. That's something the judges always try to do. They always try to create a test. Let's use criminal law, for example. When they decide how they decide whether or not you've committed murder or you've committed manslaughter, it comes down to intent. All of that, every single aspect of that is common law. Every aspect, all the tests are common law developed. So the first, murder is the highest of the offenses that you can commit against a person. So if you in fact murdered the person, it means you have pure intent, 100% intended to kill this person. Me did want to stab you in your heart, me did want to dead, right? And then you have
be careful with the wording.
No, not you, not.
No, just for the live, because it will get restricted with the
Oh,
wording.
I understand. My apologies. So yeah, So in the instance where the person has committed that offense, they had pure intent, and then you have other ways in which someone would have been offed of the life, and it would not amount to murder. And the reason that is because it may be indirect intent, oblique. It may be, there are so many other ways in which they review intent. Let's use an example. There's a plane, right? On the plane, there's one particular person that you just do not like at all, right? And you decide to plant a device on that plane, and the intent is not to remove all the other persons. Or one person you intend to remove, but the device we put on the plane cause everybody else to be removed, right? The court is going to say there was a direct intent for one person, but then any reasonable person, anybody with sense would have said, but if me put this on the plane here with all the other people, every last one of them go experience the same thing, right? So I cannot the court would say, I cannot look at this and say, you never have direct intent for everybody else. And then they'll make a determination to say, you in fact directly wanted to harm everybody else. You understand? And in that sense, it is that all of that is the common law. All of that is developed through stare decisis. And so and that's why that's another key point as to why the savings law clauses made sense at the time, to ensure that all of that was remained. Because imagine you immediately change to a new legal system. You're not create no laws to determine how those things will be handled, and you don't know how to do it. You understand? So the savings law clause would have brought that forward to ensure that it wasn't chaos at the time. Should we have changed it by now? Yes, but we're Parliament slow. That aside, that was a tangent. Huh? They're very delinquent if we're being fair. Like the law will never be able to practice his property law. God forbid. If you ask me anything property related, I'll make it up on the spot. But everything about real property in Jamaica is colonial. Every aspect of land, everything. is colonial.
Okay,
Every
like
bit of the legal, the laws in relation to land, how we work with it, how the title system, all of it is colonial. I don't know why the government refuses to touch on land ownership in Jamaica or to develop it, because there are modern ways to do things. Couldn't ask me. But that said, the stare decisis is very important in my view, because it ensures that the judges, right? Let's take a look at the legal system, the civil legal system. Do you know that the civil legal system causes things not to be as structured as in Commonwealth? So if you were to be in France, a judge would make a decision on a particular instance that looks identical to another situation that took place by somebody else, and both decisions don't align, they don't look alike, it don't look similar. The finding don't appear to be the same. It's not very uniform. You don't want that. I do not want to go before a judge that is lenient and I am successful, and then my brother goes before a judge that is not so lenient and it looks completely different. That is what the common law legal system tried to prevent with stare decisis, ensuring that judges are bound by previous decisions, ensuring that they have to operate within the same framework as all the other judges. So you will find that you do something and me do something else. And you did it at Kingston and I did it in St. James. And at the end of the day, the decision both decisions look very identical. And the reason it looks very identical is, one, the first thing they must go to is the Constitution. And the Constitution is universal. And then they go to the legislation. And then the legislation is universally applied. And after that is stare decisis, to say that this is how previous judges have made the decision. And that is how we rely on it. And unless our completely new situation, where no judge no make no formal decision before, and now me as a judge have to sit down and decide what the steps would be, what steps would make sense. And I fill in the gaps in interpreting the law, and I put it forward. The only person that can now overturn that is the court above me. They'll say, the learned, they say the judge is learned, although sometimes decision don't make no sense. The learned judge, erred in saying X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. This is how it should be. And the more it goes up and up and up the ladder of the courts, that's when things change. You get me?
I get all of that, and you're explaining the concepts, which I might not have stated earlier. I'm familiar with the legalese and the concepts of, the lawful, I guess you can say, the legal perspectives, right? However, as we're talking about the courts and keeping things uniform, that is...
Just 1 second. Just 1 second. You're right that every case is unique. What the phrase is unique on its face, because the law is the same. The law is the same. So I'm referring to somebody in the chat.
Oh,
right. The law is the same. So what the court will look to is what the facts are, and then straight to what the law is. The law does not change. So the interpretation would then be universally applied. I don't know if I say it properly. You get me? I say.
Right, yes, I get what you're saying, but that is also far from the truth in I guess you can call it minor criminal matters, as they would typically call it, like traffic cases or petty criminal cases, right? Because oftentimes you don't even have a record. Oftentimes, as a matter of fact, we never get into all of the procedures that are being, I guess I can say, just run of the mill. Guilty or not guilty, foolishness.
You're right. The lower courts don't really have much structure when it's based on the degree of, I don't want to say importance, because I don't want it to seem as though those aren't important.
It is important. It is based on importance.
Yeah. That's so, because it is so, air quotes, trivial, right? Because it is so trivial, much development don't happen there. So that's why, in certain cases, you don't even sit before a judge. You sit before a resident magistrate, and if not a resident magistrate, you might sit down before 2 justices of the peace.
Exactly.
So
But
it's
we're not going to go into that part of it, though.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you were trying to explain earlier regarding common law versus statutory or civil law. The point I was trying to get across there, where you're explaining the reasons for consistency, etc., etc., is that it is not supported by law. Nowhere is it written that uniformity is either preferenced or advised by the judicial or to the judicial branch. It is simply something that was adopted by the court, coming up with their own rules and adopting their own principles. And it is, again, because it was not separated from the crown from the get go, it just continued its normal function. So it is not even a matter that you can even point to something to say, well, this is why they are doing it. You can only point to the importance of it or the significance of what they are doing and, how it makes the body of law work. But the point of the matter is this: the courts have always exercised the power of the crown in most instances.
Yeah, it is written, it's just not written in Jamaican law. And that's
All
a
right.
point. That's a key point that you would want to make. You're right that it is not, you will not find, no matter how you search through the early cases or anything like that, you're not going to find a situation where they say, okay, we're going to use stare decisis, or you won't find it in the Constitution.
Or
Not the
common
rest.
law, for that matter.
What you can find though is that in the United Kingdom, there, how the common law was created, how stare decisis came about, is in fact written, right?
Yeah, but we can't use that.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. I believe it was brought. This is that I don't want you to quote me on this, because I will have to take myself and take up the Constitution to go check to see if it's one of the savings law clauses. Because with what we study, with what we study, we don't actually study every aspect of the Constitution. It wouldn't be impossible. We would have stuck
Right.
in our school for years and years and years and years, right? So we study the core aspects of it, and then they give you other topics to study that they'll tell you these aren't examinable, them not company exam. Naturally, as a law student, you're now going to take up yourself and learn it, because if you're not company exam, you don't need to know right now, right? That said, I feel positive. I don't know. I'm trying to be clear to you and your viewers, yeah, that I do not know, but I suspect that it is one of the savings law clause. I believe it would have been brought over from the savings law clause. In my head, it makes sense. It makes sense that it's in the Constitution to say this is how we'll bring it forward, and this is the system that we'll use. Mind you, I'm not 100% certain, so I'm preaching that as gospel. I would need to look it up and then bring this sound like assignment, but bring it back and say, yo, this is the section, this is what it says.
Right. If you do, you can certainly send me a link or send it, in a message. But from what I see, and again, we can't extend everything to, British laws, because remember, all of the colonies, it was so disorganized, where they had constitutions way before this, before the 1962 one. It goes all the way back. Jamaica always had many constitutions being revised. And that constitution was actually mostly the body of law that was looked to as what they should rule and etc. etc. However, there was never something that specifically talk about common law, because it is a derivative body, right? When they started the whole colonial thing, it was never even intended to go on for so long. It was just that, anyways, we're not going into the whole history of all of that. But Jamaican body of law was never completely extended to English body of law. So even though it is referenced, and again, if you don't object to it or you don't challenge it, it stands as the law of the case. So at the end of the day, even though it may have been ruled on before and all them something there, it all depends on what the arguments were within that case or what the court ruled on. Not necessarily that it applies to Jamaican law at any point in time.
Fair.
Right? So, thank you definitely for the inputs and all of that. But, like I said, the way the conversation started, I believe you were not fully informed of what we were doing, but it turned out to be a fruitful conversation nonetheless.
Yeah, Ashley need a drip up for this one, but yeah, study me supposed to study. That's crazy. All right. Respect for the ad. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, big up
Blessings.
yourself.
Yeah.
Lawful. So, Again, it was probably repetitive to a lot of the things that I've taught before, but good refresher. Um, Sabak, behave yourself. Good refresher. Um, always good to have someone speaking from a lawful perspective and don't just reference and coming up with opinions because we don't do it over here. We have to be able to point to specific factual references that we can say yes at this, yes at that. We can't just argue all night and talk about concepts and precepts and all them something there. We have to be able to stick within the lawful framework. All right. So I see we have several people waiting to come up. All right, everybody, I get 5 minutes. It is very late already. All right, we're gonna bring up Essence, Epic Essence. If you're still there, I'm gonna bring you up. Look like him gone. All right, Marley, you're up next. Monologist. All right, Marley, not there. We got insufficient. Let's see if insufficient is still there. Texas, Jamaica. Yeah, man, inbox me, no problem. Marley, you're up next. Not sure if your connection's still there. All right, you're not ready yet. Who else we got? Let's see who else need to come up. Sabak, you still want to come up? He's sleeping, maybe. Sabak, lawful, welcome.
Lawful, LB, lawful.
Yeah, man.
That was just a big run on and on and on and on and on and on. I could not get to what exactly he was trying to say.
But listen, we have to always hear the full context of what someone's saying. So when I like cut them off, behave yourself.
But they need to go back and do some research and find out what exactly the topic is before they go monologuing down the place. Because look how much other people wanted to get on, and because he decides he wanted to be the center of attention and take up all that time, people forgot what they wanted to ask you, which was important to them.
True. But again, everybody always get them time, regardless of whether you're a monologuer or not. You get your time.
We have to beware of people like those. Just want to just come eat up your time, eat up your time. Look what time it is. And we sat there listening for like 45 minutes and have not come to a conclusion of what he was trying to say.
It might not be entertaining to everybody or informational, but I know some people took in the information. So it was a good conversation regardless. And yes, he was long-winded, but at the same time, it is bringing comprehension, right?
Hey, great session, nevertheless. Great session, nevertheless.
Yeah, man. So would you like to add anything or you had any suggestion for the constitutional draft?
Hey, everything going along great, and I'm accepting everything, and I don't want to change nothing. Just add a little thing to it. We are doing a wonderful job. Change is the only thing that's necessary
Right.
going forward.
All right, cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Big up.
Later.
Cool. All right, so we got Kaya. Let's see if Kaya is still available. King Kaya.
Yes,
King
sir.
Kaya.
Man, blessings.
Powerful. Greetings.
Yes, family. Yes. Let me tell you something. Thank you for let the little young Padawan go on with his thing. I think for a lot of us, like myself, I am not. I mean, I declare this. I am not so much of a learned person, but we can listen to something and make sense out of something. And I hope in come your foot. he can be a great person for be a part of the system there, you know. But me I go tell him say probably some of the stuff them when then they give him for study. When he say no need for study, him probably get to go study them. Right? Because some of in context them, me do construction and some of something them I might try to build for no foundation and the it. See? So you have to go learn some more something. And when you mentioned about the judiciary and the sorry, the three arms of government. And when me get fair, thanks be to somebody like yourself and persons we are talk about with the Speaker of the House and the Prime Minister. The two of them not supposed to be on the same pillar because one of them I put the context to this and the one they are in power. So that are one grounds for one next something. And one next something me I learn. You tell me if me correct with this one. Cause a man tell me one quick story where he say one young lawyer did up at the high building and see all of the wealth down there and kind of something in first meeting. And the big top lawyer asked him, say, oh, you sit down there, so who you think say run all of that? And he said, the big shot, then we have the money. And the man said, no, man, at the judiciary. I the one them write the stuff, right? I the one them where the prime minister they and them go to them and say, oh, we can fix this. We make sure, say, when we put it on paper and go get it gazetted by somebody, you know, you just get it right up over here, so, and go get a man there over there, so, and it just turn law next day. That one day. All right. So, you don't know there's something there yet. See, so you don't understand, say. And then when me I learn from this app too, the amount of liar where they in a parliament there, the prime minister say, are they pass when call them legislation, it's something where the PMP them put together, right? They write them something there and then they put them together and present them to make things better. I tell me like I say, 60 much years old, this whole Jamaica whole, you know, till they bend. And no, they can't find mature enough people in the law system. We can come and write one piece of legislation to change things to make things better for people in Jamaica. All of them liar there, none of them can write nothing all now. Listen, you see with judiciary system and whatever we have at Jamaica, we tell you something. It is a serious problem. You know who more you have to talk to? You see whoever teach that little young man there, we want to know who them and that we want to know because whoever teach him, he come out here and say they're sitting there. Oh, he might go in front of somebody, go defend somebody. He can't defend nobody and he can't have chat.
Well, listen, to be fair, he said he's in first year of law school, so...
Tell him to not take the class yet, not take the test. Tell him left, not take the test yet, you're not ready. Tell him, don't, me I tell him, no, all right, you not tell him. Listen what Caiaphas said. Caiaphas there for 5 decades, young man. No do it yet. No waste no money and go pay for your test yet. Take some time, come at 876 and come learn something first. Sit down and go listen to some of the video them. Tell him people join your page, because I never did even follow you. So he need to follow you and go listen to some of something where you teach. I think can get just to open up him knowledge. Yeah, man. We just open up your knowledge, young man. Learn some more something and some other ways or some people view certain documents and certain clauses and certain words and where the word mean and how binding the word them is. This is what I say, because him not even understand that. Somewhere, as long as he say a so, you know, nowhere else to go.
Well, to be fair, you know, people have a direction where them typically find to be important, right? And I will never advocate for anyone to change their direction or their path, but what I would advocate is don't be tunnel visioned. Look left and look right. It doesn't cost you anything to look, right? Like him I say, them only go over certain parts of the Constitution because if them study everything, it would take them, much in years. And that is actually not true. All parts of the Constitution is not relevant to everybody, right? So just like I tell you here on the live, you only look at the bodies of law that are important, that you can see making a difference. Right? You don't need to study everything, like things that happen in a parliament. It have nothing to do with you. You just want to know, so you know exactly what they're supposed to do and what pertain to you in the constitution. So it's not necessarily if you say it is so voluminous way, whatever. But if you don't look left or right and you just focus on whatever somebody I tell you to do,
Yeah,
then
remember that. Yeah, and let me cut. And just we say to all of those who listen to, don't don't just like them that say, don't be like the horse we have on the blinders. We just look straight in front of you. No do that sitting there. Can you have one next word? Go look up peripheral vision. Yeah. Yeah. You know you have to know your periphery. Round other side there, round other side there. You have to see where then they said down there, so that year there. And you have to see where then did right about the same something. You have to see look upon one of the case them. If you can find one case where that's something that they did, man, look how then they deal with it in a one place and one next place. If that area there, and that's just see how then they use it. So there's a lot to learn, especially when it come on to them kind of something, because as we say, like some of I know say, the people them will write the thing, the lawyer them will sit down where the context where they use to. That's our next thing, the context where they use to put the paperwork them together. Where is it serving it or is it due to corruption?
right.
And that we have to look upon it too. So me not stay too long upon it something, you know, cause and me say again, we just did come up we say again respect for the work we are put in our way I do. And me talk to remote tour the other day and then say me fi link up. But I saw it something go. But yeah man, respect for the work we are do and me I beg you as much as possible. Break down the something them we are got to like the we are put together now. Because remember a lot of people as you know like the young man will come on a while ago, he might be broaden in scope. He can just look upon in a one avenue. Because just like he said, a lot of stuff we don't know. So
Right.
that we want him to know some more stuff. Because if you only look upon it from one way and then at the same time you say, them people do not have no control, but no control mean no control. But
Right.
you said no control, but they have a figurative. No, we're not dealing with that part. So you might be go. You need to get some more understanding, man. You need to broaden in scope and knowledge. I think I learn something from our next angle too. Because he might look upon him, me I tell him, yeah, look upon him one sided brother. And a whole heap of side he have. A whole heap of side and not even two enough side. Because every one of them side they can break down in a one whole heap of different parts. That's how you go.
Right.
All right. We not take up on the time. I respect again for the work we are putting, brother. And
Yeah.
you need
Yeah,
to
man.
know, you need to know as much as you hear as possible. But check out more of the man video them and spend time and care on. And sit down when you no picnic them and make them learn then something at what them don't know if you sit down and make no picnic listen to and have conversation about them kind of something here. Yeah, that don't know if you do waste time, we don't know picnic them. We don't know make them learn their rights. So them free. All right, family. Respect again for your work here, sir. And I'm not go and
Yeah,
tap
man.
the screen and do what you do. And
Yeah, man. Big
remember, I
up.
don't have to go I don't have to go sign up. I don't have to go sign up with the general. So to make sure you go check out the people. I'm gonna tell you more about it. Just a remind him to remind you. So yeah,
Yeah,
more love
man.
man and strength for where you going with sir. All right, one love.
Yeah, man. Big up. So I am not sure if the gentleman is still here, but if he is, I'm going to say one more thing on the topic before I bring up. There's somebody else who want to come up before we finish. Oh, Ricardo. I'm gonna bring you up in a second. One more thing. Excuse me. I want to share regarding jurisprudence, international law, which is what you're currently studying, and just law in general, because even if you study international law, if you're ever in the position where you have to defend a matter, you have to realize that like I always say, I am not a lawyer, I am not an attorney, I am not providing legal advice. Anything I say is my own opinion. However, if you are in crosshairs with somebody like me and you don't know, because you're not going to know what tactic the other side is going to be using ahead of time, especially in oral deliberations, right? So even though you might have submissions and even though you might have a practical, somewhat of a view of where the direction of the conversation might head, you have to take into consideration that someone can severely overpower you with unconventional things that you did not learn in school. Even if you have a mentor, sometimes you have unconventional means where people are studying the things that you don't look at. You will look at something or you look at a case and say, a fool and all case them, then nobody can learn nothing from that. And that is where someone will find a remedy that cripples your case. So all of that to say, don't think that just because you go through law school, you will have all the necessary faculties to deal with just about any case, right? Yeah, man. So if you have a different perspective of, looking at things from unconventional views or unconventional ways of thinking, or your dialogue with people who may not be a part of the bar, right? But you can see that maybe they have certain knowledge in certain areas, then you will have a better edge whenever you are dealing with cases or you're looking at cases or you're looking to formulate your own case, whatever the case may be. So that is just my my 2 cents to you regarding the legal profession. Okay, look like, all right, Ricardo gone. So yeah, man, big up yourself. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks to everyone who joined. Lastly, for those of you who came in late and want to find out how you get to the document or the documents, you visit voiceofjamaica.com. You can see up here, voiceofjamaica.com, and you scroll down, and the first post on the page is New Constitution. So you click on that, and that will bring you to this page that gives you the option to review the constitutional draft and also the Declaration of Independence. Right? If you have input or you have suggestions, you can put in your name and put the suggestions in here. And if you do submit a suggestion, they are going to show up under the form down here. So you can see the previous suggestions that people made. I blocked out their name and their contact details, so they maintain their anonymity. And if you would like to see what we discussed previously, you can keep scrolling down and you will see the YouTube replays of what we discussed in each of the draft sessions, right? So that's how you get to the site and all that. For those of you who are asking about becoming a signatory, here we have the signatory link in the menu. You click on signatories, and here you will have the description on what exactly becoming a signatory means. And if you would like to become a signatory and you want access to the previous classes and also to the community in the background that we cannot share, here you can sign up to become a signatory. Once you fill out this form, then you will get instructions by email on how you complete becoming a signatory, right? And let us take a look at our voting poll. So there are some issues that we've brought to the public. So if you click on My Voice in the menu, we have a couple of topics that we had made public, right? And let us see what we have so far. So now we have the first poll has 200 voting results. And if we look at the results, you can only vote once. So once you vote, that's it, right? So we had 16 people said that they like how the country is being run, and 184 says they do not like how the country is being run. Again, this is just public perception on what is going on in the country. This is livelihood in Jamaica. Should the government dictate how you eat or make a living, like requiring you to get a license, etc., etc.? Right? The results are 2 people said yes, you should register every single thing with the government, and 58 people says no, you should not, or the government should not dictate how you live or make a, or you eat or make a living. Sugary drinks, we had that whole discussion about Parliament the other day, where they were talking about putting a tax on sugary drinks like bag juice and other sugary drinks, right? Everyone voted no, Parliament should not put any tax on sugary drinks, right? And here we have the Jamaican judicial system. The question is, do you believe the Jamaican court system is fair and gives justice? And here we have 16 people who voted, all says no. Okay, so that's just the public viewpoint. And the last one, we have the perception of the Jamaican traffic police. Do you believe the traffic police are professional, honest, law-abiding when conducting their duties? And the results are all no. And, you know, we see this in many cases where the police lie, they make up stories, some of them are captured on video, and then you go to court wasting your time and going through the legal system unnecessarily, right? So, anyways, that is all we have for tonight. That was a very long session. We started about, what, 3-4 hours now? Very long live. But, you know, we covered much needed ground, and we're going to continue again on Monday at 6 p.m., right around there. Right? So, big up on yourself. Thank you again for joining the live. The replay is going to be available possibly tomorrow on the same page. So, big up on yourself. Good night. Lawful. Always.